was big fun. Rockies were down 7-2, 9-9, bottom of the ninth, and Charlie Blackmon wins it as he golfs one, literally, into right field, and the Rockies walk off the Giants 10-9. Welcome, everybody, to T-Mobile Tuesday Night Baseball, and it is a beautiful night for hardball as the Rockies will take on the Giants for the 18th time this year. Tomorrow will conclude the season series for 2014. Welcome inside and upstairs. Glad as always that you're along with us with my partner George Frazier. I'm Drew Goodman. Last night turned out to be big fun. It looked like it was going to be a long night when the Giants were up 7-2, Frazier.
It did look like a long night. All of a sudden they decided to give the Rockies 5 outs. They got back into the ball game and they took advantage of it. I don't care where you are in the standings. Well, having a walk-off late in the season, early in the season, doesn't matter. It's fun for that locker room.
Yeah, absolutely it was. And now we turn our attention to this evening and the starting pitchers. A matchup we saw, though not on television, a week ago. Jordan Lyles and Yusmeiro Petit. Yusmeiro Petit, not exactly a household name, George, but all of a sudden a lot of folks were talking about him because he retired 46 in a row over a period of time.
Isn't it amazing? 46 guys in a row shut down immediately. And then Jordan Lyles, he's going to get to start after going 6 innings over there. He did give up some runs, but he walked some guys in the 6th inning. Up to that point, pretty good numbers going on. Before the injury, 5-1, 352 earned run average, still trying to feel his way through with a 1-1 record and a 5+ ERA of what's gone on. But this is all after the injury, folks. There's the hard slider for the strikeout against the Chicago Cubs. Another one that was a very good pitch down and away. The Cincinnati Reds could not handle what he was trying to do. Away, with the breaking ball, but utilizing the fastball in. And I think that's probably one of the biggest keys for him is to put the ball on the ground. For Petit, I went downstairs and I asked Bochy and I asked Rigetti, the manager and the pitching coach. I said, okay, come on, what's the difference? 9 strikeouts, 6 innings, 4 hits, and he goes, he's always had pinpoint control, always. But he hasn't had a soft breaking ball. He has not had a changeup. And you can see Corey Dickerson chase the breaking ball in the dirt, the pinpoint control with the fastball, and the ability when he's in the stretch to shorten up a lot of things. He doesn't walk people. In his last 10 starts, or last 10 appearances, I should say, because he's only had 7 starts. He's only walked 2 in 26 innings. He struck out 39. More importantly, he's only given up 12 hits.
It's really been an unbelievable run for Yusmeiro Petit. By the way, the run of 46 in a row retired, broken up by Jordan Lyles. When we come back, we'll talk about a guy who had one heck of a major league debut yesterday, Rafael Ynoa. A beautiful Tuesday night in the Mile High City. Jordan Lyles making that trip with Jackson Williams after concluding the warm-up in the bullpen. We're a few minutes away from first pitch. Back with George Frazier. I'm Drew Goodman. Well, you made a debut. Anybody who's been fortunate enough to play at this level has a debut, and they have a debut story. Few will be better, though, than Rafael Noah's from yesterday.
Yeah, how about that, huh? You get called up and you go up and you just have one of those days that doesn't happen very often. As a matter of fact, 3 for 4 an RBI in his major league debut yesterday. It all started with the very first at bat when he slashed that single to the left side of the infield. Crawford was able to knock it down. Play wasn't made. That was where all of a sudden a lot of miscues started to happen in this game. The hard line drive to left field, and that's going to score. Josh Rutledge with a run. There's the RBI. Came up later, slashed another one to the opposite side. Crawford couldn't handle it, and the Rockies go on and come back and win the game. And again, this is one of those young men that came up and added a little energy, added a little excitement. He's been a career minor leaguer, and because he had such a great year, he got rewarded for it, and then he rewarded the organization with one heck of a night last night.
Yeah, absolutely. And think about the numbers. He didn't start yesterday. He came into the ball game in the middle innings. Rockies made a few more roster moves today with Colorado spring season concluded. Rob Scahill, who's been up the last couple of years, has been recalled. Kyle Parker up earlier. He's back with the club. And Tommy Kahnle is off the DL and available in the bullpen tonight. So you're up to date. Expanded rosters. The Rockies 9-8 this year against the Giants, looking to build on that victory yesterday tonight. It's Colorado. It's San Francisco. Come on back to Coors Field with us. On Root Sports is brought to you by your neighborhood Toyota stores. Toyota, let's go places. By Inova Cancer Care, taking a novel approach to cancer care. Learn more about prostate cancer treatment at InovaCC.com. By CenturyLink, your link to what's next. And by Southwest Airlines, find our fares online, only at Southwest.com. Just a perfect evening for baseball as the calendar has moved into the second day of September. Jordan Lyles, the South Carolinian, to the mound. And the first man he'll face is switch hitter Angel Pagan for the Giants. San Francisco also added some players today from Fresno. We'll get to that a little bit later on. Pagan at .304, on base percentage of .342, one of the better leadoff men in the National League. Here's the rest of Bruce Bochy's lineup, presented by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online, only at Southwest.com. Joe Panic will bat second. Buster Posey, boy, has he ever been swinging it. He'll bat third. Pablo Sandoval drove in the equalizer in the top of the ninth last night. Then Hunter Pence, he's been unconscious. Gregor Blanco next. Andrew Susak is doing the catching. You may have noticed Posey's at first base. Brandon Crawford will be at short, hitting eighth. And then Yusmeiro Petit. So we are ready to go. Jordan Lyles featuring a fastball in the low 90s as the leadoff man Pagan does a little gardening in that batter's box. He stands right on top of the plate. Larry Vanover lets everybody know first pitch is in there, strike one. That win yesterday for the Rockies snapped an officially a 6-game winning streak for the Giants, but really 7 because they won the suspended game 4-2. The completion of the suspended game yesterday. Breaking ball is in, 1-1. Giants have won 9 of 13. Dodgers lost yesterday, so Bochy's club still just 2 back in a very competitive National League West at the top.
And it's only going to get tougher down the stretch. They have 6 with the Dodgers. You know, that ball catches Pagan on a 92-mile-an-hour fastball to cut at the last second.
Well, let's take a look at some more numbers on Jordan Lyles. Brought to you by Inova Cancer Care, non-surgical treatment of prostate cancer. Visit InovaCC.com. George?
6-2 record, 408 earned run average. What I like is the hits per innings pitched, very good. And one other number given to me by Doug Marino tonight. First 4 hitters in the lineup have hit 319 against him. 5 through 9, 175. Pretty good numbers. He's been able to handle the bottom half. He's got some traffic early in this ball game. He'll have to try to handle. The one number that's come up is the changeup. 7.5% of the time now, starting to go more and more to the changeup, slider, and then the primary pitch, though, the fastball, which averages 91.3 miles an hour.
Well, while he had that broken hand, he obviously could still throw. He just couldn't catch. Somebody would catch for him. So he kept the arm in shape, and what he did for those 2 months is he worked on his changeup. And he has unveiled that more frequently, as George was saying, in his start since coming off the DL. This is a young guy. He's 23. He's very competitive. And he's a tremendous athlete. He got to the big leagues in a hurry in the Houston organization. And now it's a 3-0 count on Panic.
Yeah, working a little bit under the baseball, meaning that the elbows drop and the hand gets under, and you get a little bit of a high result with your fastball.
And now you've created an issue with the walk behind hitting Pagan. 2 on, nobody out, and Buster Posey looming. Let's check the gloves for the Rockies real quick, George. Brought to you by Excel Energy. Visit responsiblebynature.com today to learn more. Dickerson, Stubbs, and Blackman left to right in the outfield. Well, you get 3 hits in your Major League debut. You get to play again. Rafael Ynoa is at third base. Rutledge next to him on the left side. LeMahieu, Morneau, and behind the plate, Jackson Williams getting his 3rd start. As Clint Hurdle used to say, George, it's not the try-hard league, it's the do-good league. And you do good, you get to play again, right?
And he did good. There's no question about it. The last 11 ball games, Buster Posey, 23 of 50. With 5 home runs and 14 RBIs in those 11 ball games. And he played a role yesterday in that first ball game.
See, those are good numbers, and that's why he gets to play every day.
He gets to play a lot. Yes, he does.
Former MVP in the National League, also a Rookie of the Year.
I think the one thing, though, the Giants are starting to realize, and bring it to the attention of the fans at home, pretty good pitch right there. Off speed. Excuse me, 90-mile-an-hour cutter. I apologize. Here's some numbers I want you to look at. First base, look what he's done this year. 363 behind the plate, 288 on base. You know, the numbers are glaring of how much better they are when he's at first base and taking the worries out of calling a game, squatting the entire 9 innings, than it is to go to first base and play.
And eventually, he'll reside more at first base than he will behind the plate.
24 start at first. He's played 29 games over there, but 24 start tonight. He's only made 1 error at first base.
He's hurt. He has a concussion. But I tell you what, I thought Hector Sanchez did a nice job for them, George, behind the plate.
He did a really good job.
And he can swing it a little bit.
And that's what Buster does. He doesn't chase pitchers off the zone, off the plate a lot. You know, you've got to make a really good pitch on him to get a strikeout. Good hitters get themselves out. I'm a firm believer in that for a long time.
2 strikes on Posey, who began the year against the Rockies 1 for 14. And since that time, he's 15 for 35, including 4 home runs. This is in the air to center field. Tagging's Pagan, and Stubbs will get it back in the direction of second to keep the double play in line. So it's first and third with 1 out. And that'll bring up Pablo Sandoval.
Sandoval doesn't lead it, but he has hit into 12 double plays. I mean, the speed obviously plays a factor into that. Pretty good speed at first base and Panic.
Panda was 2 for 5 yesterday. And as we mentioned, he tied up the ball game with a ground ball up the middle in the 9th inning against LaTroy Hawkins. Just LaTroy's second blown save of the year. That ball, who was that? Somebody went flying. They didn't get hit.
EY.
Was that EY? Okay. EY jumped out of the way.
You know, we showed you the call-ups also in the open of the 3 players brought up, but the Rockies also promoted AAA manager Glenn Allen Hill and AAA pitching coach Dave Schuler. Were in uniform prior to the ball game.
Well, it's good to see those guys. And this time of year, the Rockies bring in waves all of their scouts. So, you know, Damon Ionelli, Mike Erickson, Danny Montgomery. Good to see, and on down, all the scouts getting an opportunity to be around the big league club, because a lot of they drafted a lot of these guys, and then they touch base with them, but they don't get to see them because they're always beating the bushes trying to find more guys that could get here.
Well, and the thing that part of the reason they're here too is to be able to look through what's going on and being able to they're going to scout this game tonight. They'll meet with Bill Smith tomorrow. They'll sit down with him. And then they will go ahead and kind of assess what they saw in tonight's ball game. Trying to improve the scouting department on a daily basis.
Ground ball, tough chance for LeMahieu. 1 on the first. Double play! Oh, wow! How good was that 4-6-3? And it keeps the Giants off the scoreboard. What a play by DJ LeMahieu. Roberto Kelly's looking at Bruce Bochy saying, I Angel Hernandez had the call. Look at this play just to get to the baseball.
And then a complete throw by Rutledge, too. A very strong snap throw. To see it, Boach turned around and said the call is correct. He's headed back to the dugout, and the Rockies are going to swing the bat. Nice job. Beat him by half a step.
You won't see a better 4-6-3 than that. No score. No scores. We go to the bottom of the first inning. It was an eventful and uneventful, fortunately, first inning. Eventful defensively, uneventful for the Giants offense. There's Charlie Blackmon, and Charlie will lead things off with that 287 batting average. He'll be followed in Walt Weiss's Southwest Airlines lineup by the following 8 people. Rafael Ynoa bats second. Why not? You hit 750. You don't only get to play, you get to hit near the top of the lineup.
Well, you ought to get to lead off.
Well, he's working on it, right?
You know what? You ought to get to walk in and pick when you hit, right?
Easy. It's only
okay.
He's
Just
been
kidding.
here 24 hours.
I'm just kidding.
Jackson Williams in the lineup, as you saw, he's batting 8. So here we go. Yusmeiro Petit, who works out of the stretch because he still feels he's a bullpen guy. And that is lined down the left field line. Fair ball. Should be an easy double for Charlie. It will be. Well, there won't be any long streak in this game for Petit retiring hitters. First pitch of the game, and Blackmon lines it to left.
He just took the fastball away from him and did what you're supposed to do. Don't try to pull the pitch. That's what Petit's trying to get you to do, is to take that sinker and try to pull it right into second base. Instead, he just had a nice swing on this baseball. You see that inside out back elbow drop, changed the plane to the bat, and was right on tune with it and drove it into left field for a double.
Well, here's Rafael Ynoa. Was the highest batting average in the history of Major League Baseball at 750.
I bet there's a guy that's hit 1,000. Is there a guy that's hit 1,000? Won it back. Come on, Doug.
Didn't we do this with Doug about 4 years ago?
I'm sure we did. But I want to get back to watch the Rockies score, run what Doug looks at.
Well, this is where, honestly, this kid who's had so many appearances at the minor league level, and he's got to be that scrappy guy. He's got to move a runner here, whether it's by a bunt or pulling the baseball. That's all he's thinking about. He's not thinking about a hit. He's thinking about when he is done with his plate appearance, Charlie Blackmon's at third, at the very least.
Interesting note, Petit's ERA at home 2.64, out on the road 4.42. Left-handers have 7 home runs and have hit 261 against him.
And it's pulled foul.
Obviously.
But a good approach by Rafael. And George, with Petit, and you were discussing him in the open, this is not an overpowering guy. You know, he's not 95 plus where getting the barrel out and pulling the baseball is a chore. He should be able to do it.
Should be able to pull it off. The one thing he's added is the soft changeup and the soft curveball to go along with impeccable control.
Oh, we have our answer already, by the way, with your question.
It's like 25,000 guys that hit 1,000.
Pretty close. 86 guys. Well, 86 guys have hit 1,000 in their career. And the guy with the most at bats, was this an older brother of Tom Paciorek? John Paciorek in 1963, because he had a very athletic family. Has the most ABs. He was 3 for 3 in his career, George. And he's the brother of Tom.
And chased to break the ball in the dirt, that hard curveball, which showed you in the highlights of his start against his previous start against the Rockies, where he struck out 9. They chased the breaking ball.
So Ynoa's gone. That'll bring up Justin Morneau. Let's take a look at the Innova numbers on Petit. Set that major league record his last time out. They're brought to you by Innova Cancer Care, non-surgical treatment of prostate cancer. Visit InnovaCC.com.
All those numbers look great, but the one number that really jumps out, and you got to start thinking about the Dodgers, you think about the Rockies, you think about teams that have right-handed power bats. He's gone 177 at bats against right-handed hitters, and they've yet to hit a home run against him. Jake Peavy is second. You've got Badenhop, League. They're all relievers.
Morneau, chance to drive in his 70th run of the year. Outfield very deep for Justin.
Yeah, hopefully they're not deep enough. Hopefully they should have bought a ticket and he hits one of those.
That'd be nice as well.
And Bochy's very aware of Petit's distance he can work typically in a game. And there's a huge difference. First time through, the opposition's hit 167. The third time through, they've hit 417.
Here's the 2-0. Two and one. Let's take a look at the Giants defensively. And their alignment's brought to you by Excel Energy. Visit responsiblebynature.com to learn more. Blanco in left does not throw particularly well. Angel Pagan in center field. Hunter Pence, the energetic right fielder. Good player. Sandoval with 8 errors. Crawford an alarming 20. Panic at second. Posey at first. Susak is behind the plate. Two and one on Justin. Got to get back.
Didn't see it. A lot of times pitchers, folks, what they do, they want to give the appearance they're looking back at second, but they're not. They're looking straight down. The head's not at home, but it's looking straight down. They're staring at the dirt. Peripherally, they don't see the guy move. Then all of a sudden he does, and then he just does the old step off and try to fire and well offline. See how he's looking? He can't see Charlie or what he's doing. Somebody yelled at him, probably Pablo. You know, and again, a lot of times when you get yelled at as a pitcher, you have a tendency to balk in that situation. It startles you.
He held up. No swing. They check it with John Tumpane at third. Umpiring crew, Larry Vanover's behind the plate. Angel Hernandez at first. Paul Nauert's at second. And John Tumpane at third. Larry's been behind the plate for a few games in his career.
A few playoff, few World Series games also.
He's done it all. And this pitch is fouled off out of play.
Petit's had 5 games this year against the Rockies. Only 1 start. That was last week at AT&T, and I mentioned those road home numbers, quite the opposite from each other. 264, 442 out on the road. But he's 2-0, 15 and a third, 11 hits, and a 176 earned run average against the Rockies.
Three and two. One out, Blackman at second, a leadoff double, strike 3 on the outside corner. So Morneau, who's very difficult to strike out, not real pleased with that call.
Well, it's a pitcher's pitch. It's not a hitter's pitch. It's on the black. It's down low. Susak reached out and kept it right out in front. Sit on the 4th strike zone. It does catch the corner of the plate.
So Drew Stubbs batting cleanup tonight. Take a look at Petit. One for 5 in the ball game yesterday. He did not play in the suspended game, the completion of the suspended game. This is just his 2nd start in the cleanup spot this year. One and one on Drew out of Atlanta, Texas.
He's really excelled when he's hit in a 2-hole for the Rockies.
Bottom of the first inning. No score. Blackman on the first pitch he saw from Petit lined a double down the left field line, but he's still stuck at second. Strikeouts to Enoa and Morneau. And now a 1-2 pitch. That barely missed.
Young catcher behind the plate, drafted just a couple of years ago. Very good in Susac. But if you have Posey turn around and say something to Vanover, we're not pretty close. See, that's the kind of pitch we got to have in this game. It means a little bit more than a rookie turnaround saying something.
Probably better if the rookie doesn't say anything.
It's
Larry
like
Vanover's been around for 21 seasons.
And a lot of times umpires look at you out on the mound and they just kind of pat their chest. That's me. I missed that one. And you respect that. That's why as a pitcher, you keep the composure lined up.
(3-2) on Stubbs, and this ball toward the hole. Diving stop by Crawford to save a run. He did that last night in the 9th inning against Rafael Enoa, which just put off the inevitable because Blackman came through behind him. Enoa would have been the hero otherwise. That saved a run, obviously. There's no way you're going to throw Stubbs out. He did the smart thing and didn't even attempt to throw it.
No, you just eat the baseball because you got 20 errors already. You don't need 21 throwing it in the stands and allowing the run to score early in a ball game. You're going to go ahead and let the veteran guy, Petit, try to do something with Corey Dickerson.
Corey Dickerson can drive in his 64th run.
Well, Bruce Bochy looking on, thinking the same thing here. He's got a young left-handed hitter that's got some pop in his bat. His fear is a ball leaving the yard, and he can see him running the running game right now with speed at first and third. Letting the young catcher Susac know what to do with the baseball. Throw through, fake the throw, or fire one to third and try to pick off Charlie.
Talking to Damon Ionelli about Dickerson because he has.
No, you weren't talking to him. He was talking to you.
Yeah,
Trust me. Yeah. He's the best car salesman scout I know. I love that guy.
Yeah, he can go a little bit, but Damon was saying that he's got a big violent swing now. Damon watched him in junior college, and he said he was spread out and he was just make sure that he'd make contact. This ball sliced down the left field line. It's fouled by about 8-10 feet. A reminder, if the Rockies score 7 or more as they did yesterday, go to participating Colorado Taco Bell locations the next day between 4 and 6 and get your Rockies taco special. Liv Moss at Taco Bell.
I just don't think Petit will give him a fastball to hit. I think it'll be something off speed and deep down in the dirt to try to get him to chase. And it's San Francisco. He went breaking ball away. He did go fastball.
Line to left, base hit. Stubbs will get a green light from Stu Cole. He's heading home and he'll score. 2-run double for Corey Dickerson.
Well, I can tell you right now that car salesman Damon Ionelli is jumping up and down in that seat down in the stands, enjoying this draft pick of his coming through it again in a big way. Dickerson with 65 RBIs now. Surprised that he went with the fastball and he went away and it got too much of the hitting zone. And Corey made him pay for it. Sliced it right down the left field line. You see it on the Mike Shaw Subaru Super Bowl as it sliced over the head of Pablo Sandoval into the corner. And with Stubbs' speed, there's no chance. for them to have a shot at getting him, preventing the second run to come in. The Rockies are 22-6 when scoring first at Coors Field.
Strike one on Rutledge. Big 2-out double from Dickerson. Rutledge off the end of the batter roller to second with some English on it, and he's thrown out. But the Rockies come up with 2 runs on a pair of doubles. Drew Stubbs a single sandwiched in there, and Colorado has a fast start against Yusmeiro Petit. Rockies have a 2-0 lead on the Giants as we go to the top of the second inning. Hunter Pence is going to lead things off against Jordan Lyles. Great defense in that first inning, kept the Giants off the board. They had first and third. Pablo Sandoval hit a wicked hard ground ball toward the hole between the first and second baseman. DJ LeMahieu laid out and started a 4-6-3. And Lyles' first pitch misses, ball 1 on Pence. Hunter has a 14-game hitting streak currently going. It's the longest in the National League, second longest in baseball to Eric Ibar of the Angels. Not going to get a hit here.
Now, Charlie, nice play getting to it. Yeah, there's some things that as a pitcher you tinker with. We talked about the changeup that Lyles changed to. Well, interesting, in his last bullpen, he decided to change his delivery and the positioning. So we're going to look on the left-hand side. A lot of pitchers do this for balance points. Keep your shoulders nice and level, be able to come right over the top to the plate. Sometimes that disrupts your rhythm and timing. So what he did was he went back to a position where he put his hands old style over the top of the head, gives better rhythm and timing, and I think it gives some deception to the hitter. The other thing that he did was positioning of the rubber. He used to work all the way over on the first base side. You can look now, he's more in the middle to the third base side. He feels that gives him a better opportunity to be able to get the ball away from the left-hander and get on top of the hard slider.
Gregor Blanco hitting in an RBI spot, but you don't think of Blanco as an RBI guy. In fact, the left field position has been one that has not produced a lot of offense for the Giants this year. Now, I thought Michael Morse would be out there quite a bit, and he's helped that total with 16 home runs. A year ago, they hit only 5. Morse, by the way, you haven't seen him in this series. He's got a little bit of a hip injury. Runs into the oblique. What are you
well, it's all
to?
tied together.
The hip and the oblique.
And the stomach and all. Yeah, it's all tied together. My stomach has fallen down.
Well,
gravity pulled it on down. Nothing I could do about it.
I didn't want to go there.
No, you can go there. I don't care.
Blanco lines a single to right. So with one out, he's aboard, and that'll bring up Andrew Susac.
Another look at this delivery. A lot of times what this does, when you keep your hands down in front of you, we're going to freeze a little bit here. When you put your hands down in front, you don't raise them over the top of the head. A lot of times you will carry what I call carry your hands. But this is just a reminder over the head as you let it roll forward. And as it starts to come, it allows you to get this load on this back position of the rubber. Everything's on the backside. So as this leg starts to come out and drop, the hands separate at the same time. It allows you not to be laid out of the glove and allows you to stay on top of the baseball.
Susac takes a strike at the top of the zone. It was a slider. Blanco 14 bags at first. Called timeout to work on some spike marks out on the dirt where he was taking his lead. 14 out of 18. Anything above 75% is thought to be a real good percentage. Success rate.
One thing that Jackson Williams has been known for throughout his career is a good catch and throw, particularly a throw. He's got a very strong arm. And trust me, the Giants very well aware of that. They took him in the first round in the draft in 2007, so they know exactly what he can do behind the plate. Thumb up, you see the flip, going to make a throw to first base. We're going to try to tighten things up on Blanco.
I got an interesting one for you that's right up Dougie's alley. All right, Doug, you paying attention?
Dougie's alley. That sounds like something in a baseball park.
Well, yep. Andrew Susac got his first major league hit on July 30th. Now he participated yesterday in the suspended game, the continuation of the game from May 22nd.
Are you going to say he's hit on May 22nd?
He got a hit in the 8th inning yesterday. Technically, his first major league hit is no longer on July 30th. It's in the continuation of that game that started May 22nd.
No, it's not. It was yesterday.
Well, it was July 30th.
I don't care, Doug. It was yesterday. May 22nd, we didn't do TV, but I was at the park and he wasn't here. He was not here.
I can tell you also, technically, that's a strikeout here on September 2nd.
Yep,
he's got to go.
As our counterpart Mike Krukow would say, grab some pine, meat. Make a left turn, head back to the dugout. Very well framed by Jackson Williams. Ring him up. Come on, Larry, go ahead. I like it when you dance. There you go.
That was Tom Hallion like.
Just don't hear the voice.
Brandon Crawford at the plate. Crawford, George mentioned this yesterday, he's hit much better this year against lefties than righties. He has the lowest qualifying batting average against right-handed pitching in the National League, just a shade over 200. Actually, now it's below 200. It's 199. And he's hitting 299 against lefties. Go figure, right?
Yeah, go figure. And yesterday, he hurt Franklin Morales in the ball game.
And another guy on that list, well, a couple other guys are left-handed. Curtis Granderson, Ryan Howard.
Well, how many 8-hole hitters in baseball right now are sitting around 56 RBIs? Now, I know he's hit other spots in the lineup. But, I mean, you're awfully proud of what DJ LeMahieu does, hitting eighth a lot with 34.
It's been a tougher year for him, but we see him a lot, George. I like him as a player. I know he's had a lot of errors this year, but normally he's pretty steady. And he comes up with big hits. He'll surprise you with some pop on occasion. Got 8 home runs this year. This is a bouncing ball to second. DJ will throw out Crawford. And Lyles gives up 1 hit in the second inning. Nothing else across. 2-0 Colorado.
Two nothing on San Francisco. DJ LeMahieu, he's leading off. He's playing second tonight. Well, Rafael Inoa played second yesterday when he got his first hit. And in his first at bat, didn't make a productive out. But you know what? I asked him about his game, and it sounds like he knows what he wants to do on the field.
My game is get on base for my teammates and catch the ball. That's the only thing I try to do in the field. I don't try to do too much on it because I know like the type of player I am.
I like that. He knows his limitations. He knows his role. And of course, yesterday he gets his first hit in the big leagues after 773 games in the minor leagues. As this is inside, let's take a look at the list of Rockies that have gotten their first big league hit this season. 4 of them are pitchers, including Brett Anderson, who of course previously was in the American League. Paulson, Bergman, Matzik, Kyle Parker, who's back with the team, Flande, Jackson Williams behind the plate tonight, and Inoa, who gets the start for Arenado tonight. Guys?
It's a long list. It's longer, honestly, than you'd like to have in a season. But congrats to all those guys. And most of all, the pitchers. Brett Anderson, he had to change leagues to get his first big league hit. Brett let us know yesterday. That's DJ LeMahieu doing his thing, going to right field with a leadoff single against Petit.
Now, DJ, 30 RBIs hitting in the 8-hole, 34 total. He is tied for first in the National League now with Cozart. Nice job here. Ball away from him. Just take it to the opposite field, hit it where it's pitched, and take advantage of that. Out over the reach of Posey.
Just to finish up on Mark's thought on Inoa and the number of firsts this year. The Rockies have had 12 players make their debut in 2014.
And that ties a record.
It ties the record set just 3 years ago when they had 12 in 2011. And you pointed this out, I think, George, either off air, I may have been on air, I don't recall, but they're going to break it. Probably.
Well, I would think somebody's going to probably get called up once the Texas is out of the playoffs. And when I'm talking about Texas, Tulsa starts tomorrow night. They'll take on Arkansas, the California affiliate. The winner of that will play the winner of Midland and Frisco.
Well, Inoa has something in common with the guy at the plate in Jackson Williams. Both guys got on a lot of buses and probably had doubts as to whether they'd ever get here, and they both finally arrived. This is a bouncer to Sandoval, and that's a good pickup. And then a good pickup on the other end by Posey. kind of a do or die play, George, for an infielder, particularly a third baseman.
Well, we've seen Arenado make this play numerous times. You come in, you're going to have to make the play on the short hop because you have to respect the runner with the base, running up the first baseline. So you got to make the exchange quick. What he does, he throws a dot in the ground, and then you got a very good catcher over at first base. Here's one more look at it on a Mike Shaw Subaru Supermo. He just happened to get the pick on the right spot, then the pick over at first base by Buster Posey. Lucky it didn't catch the seam of that grass. Scoot even harder.
And Petit leery of LeMahieu taken off with 1 out. Jordan Lyles is at the plate.
Now, part of that's because Charlie Blackmon started to steal third in the first inning, and it ended up they had a pick at second base. So you'll pay attention more to the speed guys.
If you think you have the right jump in this situation, George, it's not a bad play. You got a 6'4" right-handed hitter in Lyles. If you got thrown out, not the end of the world. You're up 2-0, second out. If Lyles makes it out, you start next inning at the top of the order. It's really not the worst play in the world.
Right, it's not the worst play in the world if you get a big enough lead to take advantage of it. I think that's why the Giants are defending it so hard, because they know that Lyles, A, can swing the bat, good athlete. And if LeMahieu has the ability to steal third base, then it puts Lyles in a spot to be able to drive in a run with a fly ball. He's got 8 hits on the season. He's hit .216.
Lyles looked like he was taking the whole way. 2-1. So Lyles was the one after Petit got a standing ovation, breaking the major league record originally held by Mark Burley when he retired as 46th consecutive hitter. Lyles, like on the next pitch, launches one off the base of the wall and left. And here is that swing by Jordan Lyles.
Yeah, at AT&T Ballpark on a day game, he got a ball on the inner half. You got the standing O. Now you're going to get the standing boo. As this ball played off of the wall, Jordan comes up with a double.
And the neat thing about the savvy Giant fans, they gave him another ovation right after. 2-2, and Lyles strikes out on a breaking ball. So there are 2 outs and Blackmon at the plate. Now here's the major league list of guys who've retired a bunch in a row. Yusmeiro Petit now has a record at 46. Mark Burley in 09 retired 45 in a row. And mixed in there was Burley's perfect game. Jim Barr in 72 with the Giants, 41 in a row. Bobby Jenks in 07, 41 in a row. Jenks was a bullpen guy. Barr was the starting pitcher.
I want to show you Charlie's swing a minute ago when he sliced that ball to left field for a double to start this ball game off, and what he attempted to do with the fastball away. I'm interested to see if Petit will go fastball away or if he'll be able to do it. Susak wants to look at it, but watch Charlie's hands. All right, let this leg start to drop. Watch how this back elbow comes through, and it kind of puts the bat, how close he got it to his rib cage, it puts the bat on that plane to slice it to the opposite field. Very good back control. And again, when you slice it that way to left field, yeah, you come up a little lucky, 10 feet inside the line, and you end up with the double. But that's what he was attempting to do, is take the ball to the opposite field.
Hitting coaches will tell you he stayed connected. The back elbow stayed connected to his body mass. There's the Rockies' outstanding hitting coach, Blake Doyle, from a baseball family.
Well, when you live it, breathe it every day, when you run camps, and you have a steady flow of people. I mean, that's your livelihood before you became a big league hitting instructor, and you've got these young kids every day that you're teaching.
Well, he and his brothers have that school down in Florida, and that's where he first met Walt Weiss. Walt went to his school as a teenager, came down from Rockland County in New York, just outside the city, and he initially went there. He was a pitcher, and he said, "Son, we're going to move you to shortstop with that arm."
A lot of times it takes the vision of other people to create a path for your career.
And they obviously not only developed a close relationship, stayed in touch through the years. Now Walt has him on his staff. Fouled off, 2-1. Blackmon hitting .328 over his last 17 games. Petit has never pitched particularly well at Coors Field. An ERA over 5 here.
Not a lot of guys have it.
I was going to say he's got company.
He's got a lot of company, including Clayton Kershaw.
Well, Tim Hudson 0-7 yesterday. Thought he was going to get a win. He had a 7-2 lead. Ends up he gets a no decision.
I thought it was interesting too, because talking to their coaching staff today, you know, one of the comments made, once we gave him the extra outs, we've just seen that momentum shift so many times, where we gave 5 outs in the 1 inning, where Pablo didn't handle a couple of ground balls. They don't turn the double play ball. You know, they said, hey, this infield's one of the fastest in baseball. You just got to adjust to it, but the first day in could be very difficult to play on that infield.
And Bochy, after the game, he's managed so many ball games here. He said, you know, no lead is safe. I've seen it happen countless times before. Not to say he wasn't upset. You're always bothered when you lose, but he does grasp the frequency that it happens here. A strikeout of Blackmon ends the inning, so LeMahieu left at second base. We'll go to the third. Rockies leading 2-0 over the Giants. Nothing lead as we go to the top of the third. It'll be Yusmeiro Petit in the top of the order for the Giants. We've kicked Frazier out of the booth. Couldn't take him any longer. And Jim Kellogg, one of the vice presidents of the Colorado Rockies, joins us. Jim, good to see you.
Good to see you, Drew. Thanks for having me.
You betcha. Now, you've had this program going since April, and I love the title of the program, Home Runs for Kindness. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. It was an idea that was invented with Dick Montfort and myself and the Random Acts of Kindness Foundation, and we took our players to 11 DPS high schools.
You're right.
We're good.
It's a visual medium.
Yeah, okay, perfect. And we took them to school, and we challenged the students at the high schools to do 90 random acts of kindness. And it was very successful. Our players loved it. We videotaped their messages to the kids about when people were kind to them. And it's been proven that when you talk about kindness and you do kind acts, people are kinder, and it creates a better atmosphere in the schools and in our communities.
Excellent, excellent. And you're having dinner coming up to reward a number of the kids. Tell us about
Absolutely. That. Next Thursday night, we're having a dinner on Coors Field. The stage is going to be set up right behind second base. It's the first time that we're having this dinner. It's open to the public. We're going to have a couple of the students come and talk about their experience with the Random Acts of Kindness and the Rockies Home Run for Kindness with our players. And we're going to show some video of our players up there on the board talking and telling their stories as well.
And so to make reservations, and I'm sure this is going to go quickly, go to Rockies.com/kindness dinner.
Correct. And you can buy a table of 2, a table of 4, a table of 10. And everyone that comes are going to get a Carlos Gonzalez autograph ball. That's his act of kindness. And we're going to have a little auction there. And it's Western attire. It's very very casual dinner, but it's you know, a dinner on Coors Field is special and it's unique.
So Ringlesby would fit right in.
He'd blend right into it.
He would fit right in. So you wear the big belt buckle at home, put the boots on, and the appropriate hat as well. Put your Stetson on.
Call Trace if you have any questions on what to wear.
See, I've tried to wear his Stetsons before, but he's got a big noggin, and it makes me look like a cartoon character. So that's September 11th. I hope you guys will make this an annual thing. That's a great deal.
We are. It's the first time. So, you know, always in the springtime, we're going to take our players out to different high schools and challenge these schools to, you know, make a difference within their community. And really, we wanted to help lessen the violence that's in schools and create a better atmosphere for the schools. And the schools work so hard right now currently that we just feel like with the players out there, hopefully it helps and makes a difference within the schools.
We get an opportunity, as you know, Jim, to pass this along a lot. There's been a difficult year in terms of wins, losses. Everybody recognizes that. But one of the things this organization has always done is the 25 guys that play the game, that represent the Rockies and ultimately represent the community. They're people that you'd want to have dinner with in your home. The quality of people that have always represented this club is outstanding, and that means a lot to fans when they're buying tickets and they're having kids buy posters, bats, and baseballs, and rooting for kids. It's a big deal, and so thank you for doing that. Thank
Absolutely.
you for this dinner of kindness. And there's how you can become involved. Be a great way. You get to eat dinner on Coors Field. What's better than that? Home Run for Kindness dinner, Rockies.com. We go to the bottom of the third inning. The good news, the Rockies have all the runs. 2-0. They lead the Giants. Jordan Lyles, a 7-pitch inning last frame. 2, 3, and 4 for the Rockies. Rafael Inoa struck out swinging his first time up. Great story on Nolan Arenado. Nolan's fine, by the way. Rafael's playing third base, and Nolan plays every single day. So Walt, when he met with the media today, naturally people wanted to know, hey, is Nolan okay? He said, Nolan's fine. I'm just giving him a day. And I didn't tell him because I didn't want there to be a discussion, because then it would turn into a battle, explaining to him why I just want to make sure that you get a day of rest.
And it would have turned into an argument.
Well, it's like health used to be. You turn into, I don't mean literally a fist fight, but the proverbial fist fight about, no, I'm good, I can play.
Right.
It's kind of like that player in football that you want to keep out, so you have to hide his helmet. Morneau at the plate. He struck out on a 3-2 pitch. He got painted up, called strike 3. ball pulled on one hop to second. Panic throws out Justin. And that'll bring up Drew Stubbs, who singled in his first at bat. Tweet your question using the hashtag Toyota Talk, and we'll answer as many questions as we can during the 5th inning. We do it every night. Toyota Talk. Stubbs hit a ball between short and third, and a wonderful stop by Crawford to keep the ball from going to the outfield. It would have scored Blackman. Instead, it was a deal where Blackman had to stop at third, and then Dickerson right behind Stubbs lined a double down the left field line, and that scored not only Blackman, but it scored Drew all the way from first. That's why the Rockies are up 2-0.
And you can see why they play slightly to pull. Drew's only had 19 hits to right field, 43 to left, 37 up the middle. So defensively, you try to pitch to that and play to that.
Last homestand, though, George, remember he hit a ball over the scoreboard.
Right center field for a double that drove in some runs, and everybody had a big celebration on that double over the head. That was a nice little deal that went on there, and then he hit a ball out of the ballpark to right field, but he also had that double a couple of days ago.
2-1 on Stubbs. This ball crushed. Stay up, get out. Nope, gonna short hop the wall. Stubbs into second with a double. He hit it too hard.
No, he had so much topspin. I mean, that's the thing. That ball took off, but the topspin of the baseball drug it back to the ground. I'm telling you, there was a ton of topspin on that baseball, and if it would have gone out of the ballpark, it would have been the first in a while for a right-handed hitter to hit one out on Petit. It hadn't happened. Now trying to get way up on top of that breaking ball. It hung right into the zone. Stubbs read it perfectly. It broke right back into the bat, and he put it up against the wall on left field. You see that ball just really hunting earth. But he ends up with a double, and now you have Corey Dickerson that drove into. Took advantage of a mistake and drove it down the left field line for a double. See if he can change places with Stubbs.
65 ribbies now for Dickerson, who drove in 23 of those 65 in the month of August. Outfield deep, straight up for Dickerson. And then pitches away.
And he got a pitch away, and it happened back in the first inning with a couple of outs. He made him pay for it, too. Low fastball down and in, out of the reach of Pablo Sandoval, down into the corner of Coors Field. Stubbs and Blackman scored to make it a 2-0 ball game. The Rockies have 5 hits now in the ball game.
And it's 2-0, so Dickerson in a fastball count here with Petit, who rarely gives in. Again, Petit has taken over in the rotation for Tim Lincecum.
They're not even going to mess with it. Bochy's just going to go ahead and walk him. He'll go right on right with Josh Rutledge, and a lot of that stems from the success. I mean, right-handers are hitting under 200 against Petit. Left-handers a much higher average, 7 home runs. They've driven in more runs, so they just soon eliminate that possibility. Bruce Bochy would, to allow him to face the left-hander.
Well, Rutledge was in a protracted slump, but he broke out in yesterday's 10-9 victory, going 3 for 3. He was hit by a pitch and had a sac bunt also. He drove in 2 runs and scored 3, so he had a terrific ball game.
Petit, I mentioned this in the open. In the last 10 ball games, he had thrown 26 innings, just 2 walks. So you're thinking, all right, he's got pinpoint control. He got just 3 of 14 first pitch strikes tonight in this game.
And that's not a first pitch strike.
So, Doug, would that make it 3 of 15 then? Okay, thought so.
Right on the money, George.
It's Oklahoma master it.
This ball line toward the gap in right center field. Josh Rutledge coming through. Dickerson, he gets a green light. He'll score. Heading to third with the triples. Rutledge make it 4-0 Colorado. Another big swing of the bat tonight with 2 outs.
5 triples now for Josh Rutledge on the season. You saw it coming. A ball hit into the gap in right center. Pagan actually was shading in left center field. Pence was not playing but straight up. So that allowed this ball to travel into the gap in right center field, and then it was off to the races, both for Stubbs and Dickerson, who had been intentionally walked. And then I look up, Josh Rutledge turned on the gas. He got to third base, and you go, well, is that a big deal to get to third base? It is for one reason. Obviously, an error, a lot of things, different things can happen, but also the wild pitch aspect of it.
LeMahieu takes a strike. And he got a view from the rooftop a moment ago. Now an aerial view from the third base corner, or third base line, I should say. And it's pretty from wherever your perspective on it was.
Well, we talked an awful lot about the Rockies season, and obviously it is not anything what anybody wanted it to be. But you can play a huge role in what happens in this National League West and in the National League for wild card playoffs and for the winners in this division, because you have these games with the Giants, you have 6 with the Dodgers, you go to St. Louis, who is in the wild card hunt.
This ball hit to deep left field's got a chance. See you later, DJ LeMahieu. 2-run shot at 6-0. Fifth home run for LeMahieu, who doesn't pull the ball that frequently. His approach is always to go the other way.
Now the bats have come alive here. Dave Righetti with a quick visit out to the mound with Petit after this long home run by DJ LeMahieu. The only thing the Rockies haven't done this inning is to hit a single. The doubles, the triples, the home runs, and this finished it off to put a 6th spot on the board on 7 hits.
And you know, with the approach to go the other way, it's usually going to be an off-speed pitch that you get the barrel out and pull the baseball. His last home run that went to left field, same deal, George. It was a breaking ball.
Yeah, he got a breaking ball. He got out in front. He drove the baseball. Good for DJ. I mean, the runs continue. The RBIs continue to climb up for him. 36 on the year now.
Jackson Williams.
Yeah, Jackson's thinking in my mind, how do I follow this act? You know, with the doubles, the triples, the home runs.
He hit a single, and the Rockies will hit for the cycle in the inning.
We'll have the cycle figured out.
5 extra base hits already for the Rockies in 2 2/3.
Jackson had a single against Petit, who he had caught in AAA the last 3 years in the Giant organization. But that was last week, and now is now.
Down the line, Sandoval makes a great play. And that's about the only way Yusmeiro Petit right now can retire the Rockies. That was the first home run he's given up to a right-handed hitter this year.
You're absolutely right. They took advantage of a breaking ball that stayed up into the zone and hit the ball out of the ballpark. They put him on top, 6-0.
drove it for 2 runs as the Rockies have a 6-0 lead as we go to the 4th. Jordan Lyles just had a 7-pitch inning. This is key because Jordan has changed things. I'm going to let Jim Wright, the pitching coach, talk about what has changed in this start.
One of Jordan's tendencies is to leave the rubber early, and so we kind of went an old school trial of it's not really old school, it's just a full windup. Move him over a little bit on the rubber to get him over the ball and go into a full windup to kind of get some momentum going.
George, you can comment on this again because it's a big story tonight. There's some moving parts there with where he is on the rubber, getting more of a downward plane, and that full windup.
Well, going over the top of the head. Not many guys do that anymore. But it kind of gets you to set on that back leg longer. Get in a position to get your hand out. As the leg starts to drop, that lead leg, the hand's got to separate, but it gets you into a starting point. It helps your rhythm and timing to the plate. There are a number of issues that it does for you. And then you say, well, why don't more guys go back to it? Well, some guys are able to handle the timing with their hands down in front of them.
Buster Posey takes a strike, and it's 0-2. George, there are different ways to accomplish that. Is that the same thing that we watched Jorge De La Rosa do with the pause?
Yeah, the hesitation. You see a lot of guys, the Oriental guys particularly, will come step to a stop almost.
Rutledge, nice pickup, gets rid of the baseball, and Posey's retired.
And what's important here for Jordan Lyles, he enters the 4th inning, he's given up 1 hit. You're in the middle of this lineup, the power of the lineup. He had a 7-pitch inning the last inning. Your club puts you up 6-0, put a 4 spot up on the board. Go out and shut down this offense because you don't want it to wake up in any fashion.
And it's been alive and well lately. One of the reasons the Giants have had so much success in the last couple of weeks has been their offense. They have double-digit hits in 13 of their last 17 games, batting .321 during that stretch. And they're also hitting .400 with runners in scoring position the last 6 games. So you're right. You want to, while you have them down, keep them down. And the other most important thing, we talk about this all the time, and it's been a problem for the Rockies this year, is not walking folks. So go out and throw strikes. The last thing you need is deep counts when you have a 6 spot.
Just fire away. You know, if they start to get some hits on you, then you can start to sink it a little more and start to change speeds a little bit more. Just hit your spots. Stay with your game plan. Defense, stay with your game plan. And I think as a catcher, that's what you have to really instill in the pitcher. Let's stay in the game plan. Let's pretend it's nothing right here and make a pitch to get out of this thing.
1-2 on Pablo. And this is a fly ball that Corey Dickerson will handle. Hunter Pence will be next. 2 outs and nobody on. Just how you'd like to see Hunter Pence. A reminder to tweet us your Rockies fan photos. Use the hashtag #COFanPhoto, and we'll show perhaps your photo in an upcoming game. Brought to you by AT&T.
A lot of people talk about Coors Field camp pitcher. We all know De La Rosa, what he's done. De La's 9-2 this year at Coors Field. I don't think enough said out of the 6 wins for Jordan Lyles has been here in this ballpark. And of course, he missed a couple of months of the season.
I was talking to Michael Kadire about Jordan earlier, and one of the things that impressed him immediately about Lyles is how tough he is on the mound, how competitive he is. And George, we've all watched games here since the inception of the Rockies in '93, and I always think back. People ask about the toughest Rockies on the mound. Pedro Estacio, pre-Humidor. I mean, tough guy.
Yeah, Jason Jennings was tough.
Jason Jennings, tough guy. De La Rosa, you know, De La may be quirky on the mound a little bit, but inside he's a tough guy.
Well, he's a tough guy, and I think the one thing, you know, and I kind of sent this message through a friend of mine, Dallas Keuchel, that was in Houston with Jordan, and I said, tell Jordan, and I said, Dallas, this is not a knock on your ball club by any means, but at the time, in the wintertime, you're thinking 2 Gold Gloves on the left side, a Gold Glove in center field or in left field in Cargo. Then he had a very accomplished center fielder,
Dexter,
and Dexter, but you had Charlie Blackmon. Now it's going to play center field for you. Your right fielder, Michael Kadire, a true vet, and then you got a guy at first base that's won a Gold Glove type. And last year DJ made 2 errors. I said, tell Jordan to come over and just throw strikes. They'll catch it over here, and that's not a knock against what Houston was running out defensively. But, you know, here he had that defense. Now, here he's got confidence, and he's making pitches just like he did on Pence.
And with that strikeout, he has 3 punch-outs in the game. He's retired. Colorado Rockies baseball on Root Sports is brought to you by the Ford Fusion. Power you want and good looks too. Ford, go further. By Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. And by Blue Bell Ice Cream. My partner's favorite.
Not just mine, everybody else's too.
Rockies leading 6-love in the spirit of the U.S. Open at Flushing Meadows.
Yeah, absolutely.
They've out-hit the Giants 7-1. 18 pitches over the last 2 innings combined for the guy at the plate, Jordan Lyles, and he takes ball 1 from Yusmeiro Petit. Jordan with 11 of 14 first pitch strikes, which stands in contrast.
Oh, you better make a catch and save me.
I'm trying to save my computer. I thought that was coming
computer,
in the third.
you can buy a new one. You can't catch it.
Come on, man.
Catch it. Are you kidding me? Catch it. You got make. It's coming back in. Oh, it missed this again.
That was close.
That was really close.
So he had to dive here. Had to protect Doug and Sam.
No, Doug was out the door. He just came back in. He's smart.
2-1 on Lyles. Two and 2 on Jordan. And they get the strikeout on Lyles. Real quick, as he walks off, having a conversation the other day in San Francisco, and somebody's been in the business for a long time. He said, how old's Lyles? 25, 26? I said, no, he's 23. Won't be 24 to the offseason.
Right.
And you forget because he got to the big league so quickly.
Yeah, he did with Houston. They ran him up very quick. Hey, don't forget this weekend, the Padres are coming into town Friday, Saturday, and Sunday after an off day on Thursday. Coca-Cola value packs. They're available on Friday and Saturday. So get your tickets for that series on the weekend.
Blackman turns and hits one towards our table in the Mountain Ranch Club.
Yeah, that guy in the first row goes, it's coming. It's going to get us. It's going to get it. It just fell short. Look there. She's going in. Hit the sign.
There you are. You're on. See, Coca-Cola value packs.
They're there. Make sure you call 303 Rockies, Rockies.com/specials.
Blackman a double in the first and had to wait for a couple outs, but then scored on a double by Corey Dickerson. That was after a Stubbs base hit as well. Infield hit. Charlie hits it sharply, but right at Buster Posey. Posey wanted to go to Petit, and he sees Blackman charging up the line. He's like, I better get there myself.
Yeah, Petit wasn't coming really hard either.
Rafael Inoa will be next with 2 outs. Subaru brings you the manager's challenge. If there's a questionable call, instant replay will be used to determine the outcome. It's brought to you by Subaru. Love, it's what makes a Subaru a Subaru. Rafael Inoa originally came up in the Dodgers organization, and this ball sharply hit, but right at Panic. And it's a quick inning for Petit. So we'll go to the 5th. The Rockies leading 6-0 over the Giants on a Tuesday night at Coors Field. Jordan Lyles has been outstanding. And viewers from Douglas, Wyoming, thanks for watching the Rockies on Root Sports. Be sure to tell us where you're watching from on Twitter at @RootSports_RM. Where's the cowboy to tell us where Douglas, Wyoming is?
He's downstairs.
I'm wondering if I've been through Douglas.
You have.
I have. I've been through Douglas, haven't I, Dougie?
Not Doug. No, he wasn't running in a car with you. That was a yogiism right there. You think Doug rides in the car with you everywhere?
Every time I go north, I check with either one of those two clowns or Doug.
Well, check with the clown on the hat.
Yeah, I know I've been through it. It's I-25 goes through there. It's east of Casper. I was there 2 summers ago when we were on our way to the Black Hills. And then we cut across South Dakota. This is back up the middle. Great effort by Rutledge. He can't get it. Blanco reaches. And that ends a string of 8 in a row retired by Jordan Lyles.
They have 2 base hits. Blanco has both of them singles.
I wanted to go up and see where Doug used to work when he was a park ranger.
Well, you'd have to find a tree with a pup tent under it, because that's what Doug did.
He was in the fire tower.
We have a camera there at the Force. See, they have a fountain there now, and some of the pines in the center. You see those? That's
Doug was in deep thought for 2 years.
Tracy, if you only knew what they were saying, Tracy, you're smiling and it's all good, but if you only knew, Tracy.
This ball bounced to third, and Inoa made the correct decision, especially up 6 runs. It would have been close trying to get the force on Blanco. And Noah, with good instinct, said, we got to get an out. So Susak's retired. That'll bring up Brandon Crawford.
They have a left-hander warming up down in the bullpen. Is Mr. Kickham, Ishikawa, the only left-hander on the bench. He's getting ready to pinch hit with one out. Bruce Bochy's son was brought up today, Brett Bochy from AAA, and you know, we've heard the heartwarming story about how they met at the elevator today, and the look in the eyes and the excitement of a dad who has played at the big league level, managed at the big league level, and is now going to manage his son, who is, by the way, it's not a gift. He's earned his way here. A strike thrower with a very good slider that went to the University of Kansas, had Tommy John surgery his senior year, signed with the Giants, and has steadily climbed up the ladder and been in AAA the last couple of years. In 158 minor league games, he's 14-8 with a 3.03 earned run average. And you know, talking to Bochy, he said, I just don't know how I'm going to bring him into the game. He said, I know this, I'll send Rags out to get him, meaning Rigetti, if I have to go get him. But nervous moments for him, but he's trying to win a pennant right now too. It's not going to be one of those deals where I'll force my son into a ball game. He'll stick with the majority of the guys that are in this bullpen right now that have got him to this point.
Well, it's a great story. And you know, the last time there was a father-son deal, Moises Alou playing for Felipe Alou with the San Francisco Giants.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty cool, huh?
That wasn't a gift either, because Moises was pretty good.
Yes, he was.
One out. Gregor Blanco at second. With Crawford at the plate, 2-2's fouled off.
They purchase a green pack and help out the environment while enjoying a day at the ballpark. Available this Sunday. $5 for every green pack goes towards the planting of trees. Make sure you do that. Rockies.com/green to get tickets.
And Lyles goes changeup and misses away, so it's 3-2. Jordan doesn't throw that pitch much. It's one he's been working on. Feels like it's going to be a real nice compliment. Didn't command it there, so it's 3-2.
Crawford's hit everything else. Fastball in, soft stuff away. They're going to go away from him with a fastball, and they got it back.
2 outs and strikeout number 4 for Lyles. And now Bochy's going to change his thought with who he's going to throw out there to hit for Petit. Good pitch.
And not a bad idea to do this either. You keep your only left-hander. Duvall's going to come on to pinch hit.
Robert?
No. Another guy named Duvall.
Adam Duvall.
That's the guy.
Dougie, is Adam Duvall Robert Duvall's son?
17th cousin. Seriously.
Really?
I don't know. You watch. Dougie's going to start digging. He's going to find out he is.
That sounds like one of those stories you told in a bar many years ago.
Yeah, maybe.
Do you know who I'm related to? So Adam Duvall takes inside ball 1.
Mike Keckham is the guy warming up down in the bullpen. He'll come in a left-handed pitcher. I watched him on the internet a couple of times this spring. He's got a good arm.
Duvall came up today. He was not part of the moves made yesterday.
There's Brett talking about him. It's right here. And it's nothing new for him. I mean, he's grown up in a big league locker room his whole life. So it's not like he hasn't been a part of this, been around this. So he knows what's going on. The bad part is when you walk up to one of the players on the team. Remember when I bat boyed for you when I was in grade school?
And that's inside of Duvall. Duvall's been in the big leagues earlier this year. In fact, had 61 at bats earlier in the season. Hit a couple of home runs. But the majority of the year, as you see at Fresno, he's got pop. 298 average, 27 home runs. Three and one. That's probably reason Bochy changed up what he's thinking. And when Crawford didn't reach 2 outs,
sure,
give this kid a shot. If he runs into one, now you feel like you're back in it a little bit. 6-2.
Well, and you don't want to burn your only left-hander.
No.
You know, with not the ability or thinking in your mind, you're not going to be able to drive in that run. So you want to protect your bench as much as you can.
And a base hit off the top of the glove of Morneau, and that's going to get a run home. So Adam Duvall comes back to the big leagues and drives in the first run for the Giants tonight. And it's 6-1 as Blanco scores.
2-out RBIs for the Giants. One of the reasons they lead and where they are in the standings and what they've been able to do to score runs of late. 2-out RBIs with runners in scoring position. It leads the National League at a 252 clip.
Now Angel Pagan. Pagan in the game hit by a pitch leading off the ball game. Then he bounced to Morneau. Lyle 65 pitches in, looking for his 7th victory of the year, and that's kind of soft serve to the left for a hit. That was Ichiro-esque the way he did that, huh?
Ichiro-esque?
Yeah, I mean, kind of stepped toward first base and just punched it to left.
Yeah, well, and this is why you're getting a visit from Jimmy Wright right now. You're going to watch this high leg kick and then just the slap of the hands through the zone to be able to fly this ball into left field. That's going to put runners at first and second. You got a couple of outs here, and you go back to that game plan. And remember, you have Jackson Williams, who does know a lot about the Giants right now, obviously in the organization for a long time. But you want to go out and make sure you're getting out of this inning with your best stuff. And that's what Jimmy Wright's visit to the mound was for. Talk to Jordan Lyles and also to Jackson Williams. As you have the left-handed hitting Panic up right now. Panic on the year, 310, a home run, and 15 RBIs. So make the pitch and get out of the inning. The guy in the on-deck circles who you don't want to see at the plate with men on base.
So Joe Panic at the plate with 2 outs. I can't get over the name, George.
Panic?
Panic. You know, the BMW's in town, right?
Right.
All the best golfers in the world.
Exactly. And they didn't invite you. Is that what you're going to tell me?
I'm going to go down. Every morning I'm going to go down this way. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, you should.
I miss the International being in town. We used to go down at Castle Pines.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if you're one of the best golfers in the world and your name's Joe Panic and you got a 3-footer to win?
I can only think how much fun the announcers would have with it. Look out. The biggest thing about coming from Oklahoma now, and playing at Southern Hills all the time, because that's right by the house, playing there all the time, you coming here and playing, and at 120 yards out, and you're like, should I putt it? I mean, the ball just flies here. It's got to be a big adjustment for these guys to come in here and play that way.
You know what? I imagine it is. I imagine it is. It used to be at the International, and where Castle Pines is located, it's instead of a mile high, it's over 6,000 feet. On the ground toward the hole, DJ slides. Panic can run a little bit. Nicely done. in the inning. There were 3 hits and a run, so the Giants are on the board. Middle of 5, 6-1, Colorado.
Around baseball today, it's Strikeout Cancer Day, and every MLB organization, they had their Strikeout Cancer t-shirts on for batting practice. The Rockies have one that is purple. Every team has a spokesperson for this Jason Mott-led event. He, of course, of the Cardinals, and Brandon Barnes is the spokesperson for the Rockies. Cancer has touched his family.
You know, my little stepbrother was diagnosed at 11 months old with neuroblastoma. You know, I got to watch him battle through it, surgeries and recovery. You know, it was nice when he was, I believe in the 8th grade, was declared cancer-free. So anytime I can support that, you know, my charity wiffle ball tournament in the off season, you know, benefits that. And I have another T-shirt that's out at athletesbrand.com, and then obviously this one at 108stitches.com.
Fans, like you said, 108stitches.com. You can get your Rockies one. You can get one for any team. Every team has a spokesperson. $32, $5 to the Jason Mott Foundation, $5 to the charity of choice by the spokesperson. For Brandon Barnes, it's the Pediatric Cancer Association. So pretty cool day around baseball. It's pretty big now, guys.
That's a great story you told, and sometimes we forget, you know, guys play so many games, and these guys are into giving back, and it's a wonderful story that you tell about what Brandon Barnes and how important it is for him in particular. Well, the new pitcher on the hill is Mike Kickham, and that's a broken bat base hit to right for Justin Morneau. Drew Stubbs will be next. This is our Twitter talk inning, so we get some questions here. Numbers on Kickham.
See the 12 ball games, second season, 3 starts, 0-3, high earned run average, but a left-hander that has a lot of potential, and he's getting another opportunity to come back up to see if you handle this level of baseball. Last year at Fresno, he was 7-7, had a 4.3 earned run average.
Drew Stubbs a single and a double tonight.
You know, we had a little fun here just a minute ago. Steve Sands came in, who works for the Golf Channel, to say hi. Drew and I were fortunate enough to play golf with him 3 or 4 years ago. And then Ricky Fowler came in. The Okie was here. Spent a little bit of time with us.
Roger Maltby also.
Big admirer of him. Yep. Huge. I think he does a great job.
He does a terrific job, as does Steve. And Steve's an old friend from, got to know Steve because he went to college in Fort Collins at Colorado State, and he does a marvelous job with the Golf Channel with NBC. I'm tickled that big time golf's back in town this week.
Oh man, I'm really excited for that.
Drew Stubbs takes a strike. It's 2-1. You're trying to get a golf tip from Fowler. I mean, come on.
Huh?
You're trying to get a golf tip quickly from Fowler, weren't you?
No, I wouldn't. Actually, his roommate in college, my son played AAU basketball together. His dad is the general manager of Southern Hills in Tulsa.
That is not going to be a double play. Not with Drew Stubbs running. So Drew trades places with Morneau, 1 out. Let's get to some questions. It's Corey Dickerson coming up. Any advice for hitting the ball the other way?
Yeah, hit it the other way. You know what? I think it's a thing that's easier to do. I go back to a guy named Rennie Stennett that was a great second baseman with the Pirates, so he tore up his leg. With my conversations with Lou Brock, so I got both sides of the plate type thing. A lot of guys think they hit off the front foot with a stiff front side and kind of get out front with the hands inside the baseball and be able to change the plane of the bat and go to the right side with it. It also depends. It's you know, where pitch is thrown too. I mean, it can make it very difficult. Guy blowing gas 92 miles an hour in on your hands makes it pretty hard to take it to the opposite side or even try to make some kind of an effect with the baseball. But for me, getting out on the front foot and being able to keep your hands inside the baseball and think right side. You know, so many guys get out too quick. The hands come too quick. They roll over the top of it. But I think as a player, if you go to the mound thinking right side, or if you're a left-handed hitter, left side, and then what do I got to do to get my hands through to that area and get the bat in that direction? Because it all comes down to the plane of the bat and how you put your hands into that position to do it. I mean, you're seeing a lot of Rockies today. Corey did it. Blackman did it on pitches that were right out here on that outside corner. And what they did is drop the bat head on it and basically slashed that ball to the left side. That's why a lot of times you see hitters get out of the box and you see them make the hand motion. See them make hand motions with their hands where they're trying to stay through the ball and try to be able to do that. You know, you see them step out of the box and also you see them start doing this. You know, you see golfers doing the same thing about the follow through. And on the baseball side, you know, they see him, I got to stay back and through that baseball.
Well, Michael Morris does it in some almost theatrically because he does it in slow motion, but it keep those hands inside.
You know who else does it if you watch in the on-deck circle? Nolan Arenado.
Yes,
if you watch how he takes his practice swing, it's almost a full swing with the hands through here. Then all of a sudden you'll see him follow through. And it's done methodically, basically muscle memory of repeating what you're trying to get done every time.
And guys, I tell youngsters this, they think when they graduate from T-ball that they're too old to use the tee. Big leaguers use the tee all the time.
Oh, they use the tee all the time. They front toss, soft toss. They do all those things in preparation to be able to do it.
Stubbs takes off, and the throw to second is not going to get him. Drew with another stolen base, his 17th. I have a question on Corey Dickerson. Does Corey have a chance to get enough at bats to qualify for the batting title? I think it's going to be really difficult.
Difficult, but he's also going to have to. I mean, they've had a bunch of extra inning games. You know, I mean, that's how close. I mean, it's, you know, what is he? 40 shy, 50 shy, maybe. If he played every day and got 4 at bats, he'd still come up short,
you need 3.1 plate appearances for 162 games, so it's 501. And coming into today, Corey had 360 at bats. I'm trying to think where plate appearances not on here, but he's still short. This helps though, a base hit. Stubbs around third. Here's Pagan's throw, not in time, and because he airmailed the cutoff man, Dickerson just kept on going, read the throw. He's now in second, and it's 7-1 Colorado. As the Rockies have hit that magic number again.
66 RBIs, but credit DY too with being able to guide him as he's watching a release on this throw. It's out in front of Corey, it's out in front of EY, and he'll get the and going to get it happening in the right direction. Bruce Bochy trying to keep every game as close as he possibly can. We'll go down to his bullpen.
So Kickham has been kicked off the hill after facing 3 hitters. A couple of base hits. He gives up a run. Rockies up 7-1 for Jordan Lyles. George Contos will be next. We'll come back. Here's our First Bank game recap. Put the 7th inning stretch to good use. Get First Bank's free checking at eFirstBank.com. Well, the Rockies got after Yusmeiro Petit beginning in the first with 2 runs. Dickerson drove him in with a double. They had a 4-run 3rd inning in which DJ LeMahieu hit a 2-run home run. And they're in the midst of another good inning here in the 6th. 7-1, or in the 5th inning, I should say. 7-1 Colorado. And George Contos, number 70, has been summoned from the bullpen. Josh Rutledge, who had a booming 2-run triple in that 4-run 3rd.
Contos is going to bounce back and forth between AAA and the major league level this year. 16 appearances on the season. 23 2/3, 19 hits, given up 22 strikeouts. Bochy's hoping that he can shut the door here with 1 out and a runner at second base, and Josh Rutledge at the plate. Rutledge with the big triple that drove in 2 back in the 3rd inning.
So Rutledge 4 hits in his last 5 at bats, covering the last 2 nights. Chance to do more damage with Dickerson at second. And this is in the air down the right field line. Pence can't get there. Hunter never broke stride. I think he was going to try to run through the wall.
He usually does. That's the kind of player that he is. He's going to go all out to try to get the out. Pence wears, what's that saying?
Digger pajamas.
Real.
That's funny.
That's all part of the tweets that have been going out. We showed a little bit of that last night with Mark Stout as he tracked down his tweeting fan club. I don't know about that stuff, too. I don't know about the tweeting fan club.
Yeah, I don't know how it would work, Twitter, for you.
Not well.
But you know how to text, and we have another
I just
text
learned
during
how to
Twitter
do that.
talk. Are there? No, that's not true. Are there National League umps and American League umps, or are they interchangeable? It used to be that there was a National League crews and American League crews, but that went away a number of years ago. So, Larry Vanover and this group, their next series may be the Angels and the Orioles. I don't know if they're playing, folks, but it may be an American League series.
Right.
Roped and gloved by Panda. This play by Sandoval, robbing Rutledge of a base hit, potentially an RBI. So they're 2 outs, and that'll bring up LeMahieu. Single and a 2-run home run for DJ.
Yeah, having a night as he has been. Those RBIs, mentioned that earlier. He's not hitting 8th tonight, but his 30 RBIs along with Cosart lead to major leagues. Would be nice to tack one on here. They've already done it. Add another one to it to make it an 8-1 ball game as you work to the back end of this game.
Slider on the outside corner for a strike.
You got a breaking ball in the third inning out over the plate for Petit. Petit's worst outing of the year, and he made it a lot worse with this home run to left field. For DJ, it was his 5th home run, 36 RBIs on the year.
Strikes on LeMahieu. DJ last year hit just 2 home runs, the year before just 2 home runs. Now 5 this season. Six-year-old out of LSU takes down low, 1-2. He had options coming out of high school. A decorated high school player at Brother Rice High School in Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. And out of LSU, he went in the 2nd round of the Cubs in the '09 draft. And because of his defense and his bat control, he got to the big leagues quickly. He got to the big leagues at 22.
That's when the Cubs, not a very good baseball team. He was a high draft pick, and they, you know what, he hit everywhere he was at in the minor leagues. They said, let's see if he can hit at the ultimate level.
Well, he hit 321.
And he's hit ever
minor
since.
leagues.
And he's hit ever since too.
This ball bounced to third.
Look what I found.
Yeah, that was a tough chance. An in-between hop. And Sandoval made the play. Ends the inning. The Rockies get another run on the RBI single by Corey Dickerson. 7-1 as we go to the 6th. Downtown Denver, Drew Goodman, George Frazier, and Mark Stout. Who wants tacos, fans? The Rockies have scored 7 runs. So do not forget to go to your participating Taco Bell locations tomorrow between 4 and 6 in the afternoon to get your Rockies taco special. That's 2 nights in a row. Good to be home. Rockies scored only 12 runs on that 7-game swing through San Francisco and Phoenix. Buster Posey 0 for 2, fly ball to center and a ground ball to short. Jordan Lyles is allowed a run on 4 hits in search of his 7th victory. Start to look, Frazier, at building blocks for next year in your rotation. Well, let's be honest, it always begins with a rotation. You can't win if you don't have pitching.
No, you can't. Yeah, and bullpen.
And a bullpen. It's all part of it. But the guys that take the ball initially, you got to like where Tyler Matzik is. And other than the injury this year, Jordan Lyles has been impressive.
Well, I mentioned a minute ago at Coors Field, he's 4-1. Next up, Jorge De La Rosa, 9-2. A couple of guys that have pitched very well here. Not to try to jinx anything, but Jordan could be 5-1 here in about an hour and a half or less.
3 balls and a strike on Posey. Buster last year hit 15 home runs, drove in 72. With a month basically to go in the season, he has 18 home runs and already sitting on 72 again. He hits this a long way to left, and he now has 19 home runs on 73 RBIs.
345 average out on the road. That leads the major leagues.
This is the best he has swung the bat in a year and a half. That's his 5th home run against the Rockies this year. And his 15th home run in the last 3 years against the Rockies.
Well, let's take another look at this pitch from Jordan Lyles. 7-1 lead, you know, and that's kind of a center cut fastball. That's not where Jordan wanted to put that. He wanted to get it under the hands of Buster Posey, create that ground ball. It was out over the center of the plate. Buster, being the hitter that he is and what he's done on the road this year, made Jordan pay for it. Good sinker there.
Oh, 1 on Sandoval. He's 0 for 2. We're going to be 0 for 3 when this thing finally lands. DJ's got it. 1 out. Time now for the Lowe's Never Stop Improving stat. Well, these numbers are frightening. Single season batting average at Coors Field by an opponent, minimum of 25 at bats. Hunter Pence, 520. Look at the names on here. Piazza, 97, hit 552. Piazza hit 533 and 95. Bonds hit 520 and 04. He didn't hit that well coming into the season, and then on cue he gets base hit up the middle.
Well, that was the big key to it. That's why I circled it. 250 in the 7 previous seasons playing at Coors Field. Now all of a sudden you see the big number. And it's going to get a little bit better with that base hit.
And you know, with that hit, he's now got a 15-game hitting streak. It's a nice combination when you have a guy who's supremely talented, who's also a gamer. And both of those guys in that picture fit that description. Gregor Blanco's 2 for 2.
Got to bury something inside to him to get his attention as he stands right on top of the plate.
That's a cutter in, ball 1. You mentioned the 15 home runs that Posey has hit against the Rockies the last 3 years. Second on that list is Pence with 12.
I'll tell you the other side of this. Even with 1 out, you're down by 5. Bochy will not stop playing the game. If Penske thinks he can steal a base, he's going to take off. He's got 11.
George, that old red truck of yours has windshield issues. What do you call that old truck?
It has in the past. Big Red. That's Big Red. That's right.
Well, call SafeLight then. 303-287-5000, or you can see them online, safelight.com.
And I have called SafeLight and have had to call SafeLight. I don't know why that tree got in the way as I was going through the woods. I just didn't understand that. Oh, but Big Red's got over 400,000 miles on it.
That's a pickup truck. Outside. Pence thought about it.
Well, only because it popped away just a little bit. And that's the respect of Jackson's arm. But then he kicked it with his foot. When he kicked it, went away again, that's when he started to think, well, am I going to take off on this or not?
This ball line, what a catch by Inoue. They'll eat the baseball because Pence got back to the bag. That's a play that the other third baseman makes a lot.
Man, have a 24-hour day at the ballpark. You know, I tell you what, this ball's going to be hit extremely hard. And he's going to take 2 steps to catch the line drives. He's showing a little versatility last night after playing second. He's at third tonight, giving Arenado a night off.
So you have that H webbing in there, George. That thing's hit so hard that you can blow the webbing out. Fastball on past Andrew Susac.
Susac's had a tough night so far. I hope it continues. A strikeout and a soft ground ball to third. Looking at the webbing there, you can see that things are stretched out a little bit, and he's tightening the strings up to bring it back in again. So a lot of times when you see this in slow motion, folks, and from that area, see the ball pop up in that H webbing. Yeah, that's how hard the ball was hit, and maybe how old his glove is. He needs to tighten things up a little bit, right?
Hand it over to Scotty Garrett or Keith Duggar. The trainers would always double as the glove repair guys on a club.
All the way through the minor leagues, you're the repair guy, the trainer, the traveling secretary, you do it all.
Well, we've seen that a few times over the years with first baseman, the line drive or hard ground ball, and the ball literally sticks in the web and he can't get out. They throw the whole glove to first.
Well, think
you
about
know, the pitcher covering him.
Yeah, but I'm thinking about a first baseman. He gets more throws than anybody on the field.
Yeah.
You know, that's where the leather's going to get a little more use.
It's always interesting for a middle infielder when he does go to third. Does he go with the little longer glove or does he take the trusty one he's used to? And I can tell with the Inoue, he's got his middle infield glove. Susac.
And he got revenge.
Yeah,
he got a little revenge on that one. Susac with his third home run, now 14 RBIs. And as the Rockies did last night in a 7-2 ball game, all of a sudden the Giants starting to make something out of this game.
Yep, now 7-4.
Yeah, 7-4 ball game now.
Third home run for Susac.
There's been no action down in the bullpen for the Rockies so far. Take a look at this pitch one more time. Looked like a slider that backed up. Look at Jordan's response. I mean, he knew it as soon as he threw the baseball. He threw it right down into the heart of where a right-hander likes to fade off of the baseball and get one of the most powerful swings that he can put on a ball. He can drop the back leg and add the leverage of that back leg drop and hit the ball that far.
Brandon Crawford takes ball one. Crawford is grounded second and struck out. Matt Duffy has come out in the on-deck circle if Crawford were to reach.
Bassett is up in the Rockies bullpen. Gutierrez is up in the bullpen for the Giants. And hit off the thumb of the glove as Jackson tried to frame. A lot of times when you're a really good receiver, you try to frame the baseball. Charlie O'Brien, Bob Boone is giving you a couple of names that they can catch the ball anywhere on the mitt and keep it on the leather, on the thumb, on the heel, on the end of the glove. And Jackson, I think what happened right there with Jackson, he tried to catch that ball out on the thumb and keep it a strike. Didn't happen. Let's stay with it.
You got to have really good hands to do that.
Soft hands. Soft hands, trust your hands. A lot of people thought Charlie O'Brien was lazy, thought Bob Boone was lazy. No, they just did it so easy it looked lazy.
And we'll see the master in a week or so when we're in St. Louis with Yadier Molina, who's back healthy again, and the Cardinals are surging. Moved into first with good play. Milwaukee has slid a little bit. Well, the Rockies, Jordan Lyles give up 3 in that inning. The long ball, Buster Posey, Andrew Susak, 7-4. Rockies baseball on Root Sports is brought to you by T-Mobile Tuesday Night Baseball and by Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo customers, get your 2-for-1 Rockies club level tickets today by going to wellsfargo.com/Rockies. Wells Fargo Bank, member FDIC. Well, things tightened up a little bit. The Rockies were up 7-1. It's now 7-4. See if the Rockies can counter punch in the bottom of the 6th inning. Jackson Williams will lead it off.
Well, the Rockies bullpen set down. Jordan Lyles is coming out on the on-deck circle. Massett was warming up to complete the bottom of the 6th inning.
George Contos is the 3rd pitcher utilized tonight by Bruce Bochy. Jackson, who was a 1st-round pick out of Broken Arrow, Oklahoma.
Yeah, he actually went to the University of Oklahoma, but played at Broken Arrow High School. Had a couple of those. Brad Penny was in town earlier, went to Broken Arrow High School.
I was talking to Jackson a couple days ago, George, about hanging out with you and Parker and the gang at Oral Roberts, working out in the winter.
About 25 of them seemed to show up. I thought when I first started doing that, I guess it was the winter of 2008, Jackson hits the ground ball. There was like 4 or 5 guys that came over, and word spread. We got a couple of guys driving 65 miles 5 days a week. Starts at 9 in the morning, and we go home about 2 in the afternoon. It's a long day.
Jordan Lyles will hit for himself here in the 6th inning. We thank you for tweeting us your questions during Toyota Talk. We always appreciate it. Visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/RootSportsRM for more answers to questions you may have. Lyles has struck out twice in the ballgame, got a breaking ball. Ultimate sign of respect on the first pitch, 0-1. We talked about his ability to hit. He has a home run earlier this year, had a .216 average coming in. You can just look at some pitchers and you can tell if they're up there with a purpose or if they're up there just to get the thing over with. And clearly Jordan Lyles is up there with a purpose.
Yeah, here's the thing about it. You just gave up 3 runs too. There could be a little anger in this at bat.
Another breaking ball. Back in your day, man, unless it was a Don Robinson or
Sutcliffe could hit it.
Sutcliffe could hit. Gibson could hit. That was almost taboo. It was 3 heaters, then you move on, right?
They were done, yeah. There were no question about it. I mean, there's some guys that can swing a bat, but far and few between. Most of them were really good bunters, though. I mean, it was huge on the sacrifice. It was almost automatic every time they came up.
And again, he threw a bunch of sliders.
Hey, follow every Rockies game through the season's end with MLB.com At Bat, the #1 app for live baseball on your smartphone or tablet. Get replays, reviews, scores, stats, audio, and a whole lot more. Download At Bat on the App Store or visit Rockies.com/mobile today.
Blackman a double in the first. He's 1 for 3, 2 outs, and nobody on base here in the bottom of the 6th inning. 7 runs, 9 hits, no errors for the Rockies. 4 runs, 7 hits, no errors for the Giants. Rockies have hit a home run. DJ LeMahieu has it. And the Giants have hit a pair of home runs, both last inning. Buster Posey and the guy who's doing the catching for him tonight, Andrew Susac. Buster's at first base. Susac came with a man aboard. Rockies are 9-8 against the Giants this year, with the finish of tonight's game and then one tomorrow afternoon. No television tomorrow. So if the Rockies win one more, they'll have won the season series for the first time since 2008.
Yeah, that year they went 11-7 against the Giants.
Two on Charlie, and he fouls that one back. The Giants are 29-26 inside the West. The Rockies are 25-33. The Dodgers have played the best inside the division. They're 37-21. They lost to Washington last night. They got a pretty good arm going tonight. They're in the 3rd inning scoreless. Kershaw looking for his 17th victory tonight for LA.
Quite a player, quite a pitcher. Funny how guys like him, though, they just become good citizens. Really good citizens. Try to do an awful lot because of their celebrity status. Allows them to get different funds raised for different things that mean a lot to them. He goes overseas on missions a lot.
Well, he and his wife have done great work and have started, I believe it, I think it's a school in a country in Africa. I got to delve into that a little deeper. We don't have it in front of me, but every year, and you're talking about a guy and his wife who are, I mean, he's mid-20s, so to have that kind of perspective, it's not just having the money and the success, but to have that kind of perspective at such a young age and then to stay with it. He's a special guy, Clayton Kershaw, not just as we've been discussing because of his ability to throw a baseball. 3-2.
Charlie putting up a good battle against Contos, fighting an awful lot of tough pitches.
Yeah, he has a challenge, George. It's called the Kershaw's Challenge campaign every year. They've raised over $500,000, and he and his wife go over, and what they do with the money, he's helped purchase land, build homes and classrooms, drill water wells, and fully furnish schools in Africa. So he's a difference maker on the field and off the field. 3-2 again, upcoming to Charlie Blackmon. And this one is hit in the air to shallow center. This could drop. Wow, that's a great play by Crawford. That's a long run for a shortstop, because Pagan was so deep in center field, he had no chance. That was like a 40-yard sprint for
over the shoulder.
Crawford.
Over the shoulder in the corner. 7-4 Rockies.
Did you know that money generated from hunting and fishing in our state creates jobs and protects wildlife? So when you see a hunter or angler, give them a hug. Learn more at hugahunter.com. That would be wildlife. Look at that squirrel we had earlier this year, running around the field. Jordan Lyles pitching to Matt Duffy, the pinch hitter. Enoa, a pretty play on the move, 1 out.
And 92 pitches right now for Lyles. Matt Belisle has been warming up basically since Lyles walked out to the mound. Massett was up earlier. That was to get out of the inning. Belisle is here to get him out of the 7th inning.
Two 2-0 on Pagan. 1 for 2, and he was hit by a pitch. Angel fouls it off.
You know, the 2 home runs in the last inning give a little life to that dugout. So you want to try to zap it out here in the 7th inning. Buster Posey, Bruce Bochy.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Wells Fargo customers, get your 2-for-1 Rockies club level seats today by going to wellsfargo.com/Rockies. Wells Fargo Bank, member FDIC. Pagan fouls off the breaking ball, so it's still a 2-2 count. Joe Panic's on deck.
Watching him hit, just a couple of guys on their team, and Pagan one of them. I see a little bit of Scudero in that swing. I see a little Scudero setup. Kind of a confidence that it brought Marco Scudero.
I'll tell you what, Marco would just spray line drives everywhere. Pagan's starting to become annoying, isn't he?
Yes, he is. He's like that fly in the car. You roll down the windows, it won't get out of the car, and it keeps buzzing around in front of him. Sam doesn't have that problem on his motorcycle. He just gets on his Harley and leaves, and they fly right by.
And the walk. So Pagan with 1 out to first. Joe Panic coming up.
Don't miss the 2nd annual Brewfest at Coors Field this Saturday prior to the Rockies Padres game. Enjoy tasting from local breweries from 4 p.m. until the first pitch in Coors Field outfield picnic area with your Brewfest ticket package. Well, how do you get that? You purchase it at therockies.com/Brewfest for that ticket package for this weekend when the Padres are in town.
This is sliced to deep left field. It is going to short hop the wall. Pagan around third has to slide after the bag because he was heading home. Tim Flannery stopped him. And it's second and third with 1 out. The tying run coming to the plate in Buster Posey.
Now Lyles at pitch 101. I mean, Walt is forced to go get a rested right-hand arm because of this slicing double down the left field line, and Jordan Lyles will walk away. And a lot of times as a managers, folks, they work this deep into a ball game. They don't want them to walk out of here with a loss. In other words, another base hit, 2-run score, and then you bring in a guy and the run score, and they end up in a bad situation. Jordan's not going to be happy with this outing, but if Blau does his job, he walks out of here with a 7-4 lead in the 7th.
7-4 Colorado, 1 out. Rockies up 7-4, but they have a situation. Second and third for the Giants. Buster Posey at the plate with one out. Matt Belisle will come on. The day after every Rockies victory, get 40% off your online order at Papa John's. Enter the promo code ROXWIN at papajohns.com. 10% of net sales also will be donated to Children's Hospital, Colorado.
Well, Belisle coming in, runners on second and third, one out. Buster Posey. Then you have Sandoval. It's his inning to get out of. He's making his 61st appearance, 58 and a third so far on the season. And we mentioned about Posey's average on the road, 345, the highest in the major leagues this year.
Posey lined a home run his last time up to left, and he gets an off-speed delivery. And it's 0-1. Here's the home run he hit against Lyles.
Yeah, breaking ball that just broke back into the inner half of the plate. The leverage took over, and he hit it out of the ballpark. Swing and miss on a cutter from Matt Belisle at 86.
Posey with a 345 road average. That's the best in the National League. 0 on that list at 311.
With the slider away after a fastball in, not a bad idea to do. Hard slider at 87.
Drive right center field. That's going to narrow it to a one-run game. Posey with a two-run double. And this is exactly what we watched last night with the roles reversed. Giants had the 7-2 lead last night. The Rockies came roaring back. And now it's the Giants who had a 7-1 deficit who've closed to within one.
Now try to look at this pitch from Matt Belisle. Slider trying to work down and away. Posey does such a good job. You see it looks almost as if he's fooled by the pitch. But he has such great strength in his hands and forearms. He drove that ball into right center field and drove in two.
Pablo Sandoval with one out at the plate. He's 0 for 3. So the book closed on Lyles. He goes 6 1/3, and he allows 6 runs on 8 hits. And Mayhew will grab this one for the second out. And that'll bring up Hunter Pence.
Anytime you come into a ball game with a runner on third and less than 2, and they had second and third, as a reliever, it's a difficult spot to not give up 1. What you're trying to do is not give up 2. And unfortunately, Matt got that ball out over the plate, and they made him pay for it. That line drive in right field, but now shut it down and still have the lead. Still walking the dugout with the lead after this inning.
Fastball inside, ball 1 on Pence. Well, since 2010, nobody has more hits in the National League than Hunter Pence. Starlin Castro is second. McCutchen, last year's MVP, third.
Yeah, you made a great point. He's playing every game, too. But you have to get hits in those games you're playing in, and he's doing that.
Yeah, he plays every day. There's a reason he plays every day. And that's because he's really good. 1-1 on Pence. Back up the middle. Base hit. Posey around third. Blackman or Stubbs' throw is going to be cut off. Throw to second. Goes into center field. Stubbs got to chase that down. And Hunter Pence has tied it at 7. Single and an RBI, went to second on the throw. 7 up here in the 7th.
Outside corner, but elevated. He caught the top of it. Bilal tries to knock it down with the glove, and it got by him too quickly to be able to react to the pitch. Or the ball off of the bat. The throw coming in from center field was high from Stubbs. They're not going to have a play, and that's when Morneau tried to cut it off and go to second to get Pence. Well, you're still in a tie ball game. You can't get. Turns on, the ball catches it. He's out. He's slid right into the foot of rubber.
Blanco pulls it foul. Well, the Rockies had a 7-1 lead after 5 innings of play. 6 runs the last 2 frames for the Giants. Last night again the Rockies were down 7-2, and they scored 7 runs in the 6th and 7th. Line to left, Dickerson can't get it. Pence scores. Blanco has put the Giants out in front 8-7.
Everything's obviously rolling the way of the Giants, not the Rockies. No one feels worse right now than that man right there, Matt Belai. Ball away from him, and Jackson appeared to be setting up on the inner half of the plate, and the ball hit to left field. Blanco showing a little bit more power than what he normally does. Dickerson playing very shallow. The ball got out of the reach and by him, and the run comes around, and it's an 8-7 Giant ball game.
Andrew Susac as Massett's up for the 2nd time tonight. Andrew Susac will come up. He had a 2-run home run last inning. On the corner. 1-1.
Pretty good extension with that fastball to put it in a spot and a location down on the outside corner. 92 miles an hour. Jeremy Affeldt, who threw 2 innings yesterday in the ball game and that suspended game, is warming up down in the Giant bullpen.
Two on Susac.
93 with that fastball from Belial.
Susac out of Oregon State. It's become one of the elite baseball programs in the country. Susac's a Northern California kid to begin with, grew up in the Sacramento area. Always got to be a thrill when a kid ends up playing in the big leagues for the team closest to him.
Good pitch by Matt Belisle.
Just inside, evidently 3-2.
Yeah, look on the strike zone. It is off on the fourth strike zone, but man, did he square up Jackson Williams right where he wanted to put it. Vanover didn't give it to him. It is off the plate. It's a ball. But a good pitch.
And this ball's lined at deep center field. Stubbs hoping for a play. Can't get it. Blanco comes around. Susac will stop at second. It's another double. And it's now 9-7 San Francisco. I think that young lady, now how many doubles is that, or something about doubles? It's been a slew.
4 in this inning. There are a lot of fastballs again, trying to go down and away to the outer half. It ran back to the middle, and Walt Weiss will have to go out and get Matt Belisle off the mound. And again, this is a man with a lot of pride standing out on the mound right now, trying to find the answers of what he wants. He signaled for Nick Massett. Massett is on his way in. Matt Belisle's on his way off.
Pitching change. The Rockies trail at 9-7. A 7-1 lead a short while ago, and as they did last night, the Giants have turned the tables on the Rockies. They're now up 9-7. Our CenturyLink link to what's next. No television tomorrow afternoon for the season finale between these two clubs. Day off Thursday, and then the Rockies will welcome in the Padres with Bud Black over the weekend. And then it's off to the Big Apple to see the Mets, and on to St. Louis to see the Cardinals. So Nick Massett will try to get that elusive third out here in the 7th inning. He'll face Brandon Crawford.
That has been Matt Belisle, 2/3 of an inning, 4 hits, 3 runs. Got a couple of runs of Jordan Lyles when he left the ball game after retiring. Pinch hitter Duffy. Yeah, it's tough right now. You know, the hardest thing for a guy out of the bullpen Personal failure is really tough, but when you have that failure, then you have to face your other teammates who have entrusted you to keep that lead for their ball club.
And this ball pulled to right. It is fair. This is double territory also. In fact, Crawford's thinking about 3, and he'll have it easily. 10-7 as Crawford has driven in his 57th run. This is the inning that won't end. 4 doubles and a triple in the inning, and a measly run-scoring single from Hunter Pence.
Yeah, all Walt could do is keep making the phone calls and hope somebody that comes in. That's an elevated fastball that they're trying to sink to the outside corner. That ball just took off down into the corner. Charlie Blackmon gave chase. You see Brandon Crawford rounding second, heading to third. Able to get there standing up.
How often does a pinch hitter get a second at bat?
Not very often.
That's what Matt Duffy's looking at right now. He started the inning, folks, grounding out to third. Lyles got a ground out. There's 1 out, nobody on. And then the eruption. 6 runs here for the Giants. Lyles went 6 1/3, allowed 6 runs on 8 hits. He walked 1, struck out 5. Now the book closed on Matt. And Belisle goes 1/3 of an inning and allows 4 runs on 4 hits. The Giants threw out 10 extra base hits on Sunday at home against Milwaukee at AT&T. That's the most extra base hits they'd ever had in a ball game at home. They had 5 in that inning alone. 10. Check the Cooney Lexus look back. The Rockies had it rolling on offense. DJ LeMahieu, a 2-run home run to the 3rd inning. His 5th home run of the year. Rockies put a 4th spot up in the 3rd. They had 2 in the 1st inning. And then the Giants started getting warm. Buster Posey with a home run. He also has a double. He's driven in 3 in the ball game. Gregor Blanco goes opposite field. He was a big part of that 6-run rally we just witnessed in the 7th inning. The Giants went from a 6-run deficit to a 3-run lead. Trying to chase down the Dodgers in the NL West. The Rockies still with 9 outs to work with offensively as we go to the bottom of the 7th inning. That again brought to you by Cooney Lexus, dealerships in Colorado Springs and Greenwood Village. Jeremy Affeldt, who worked yesterday in the suspended game, the completion of the suspended game. And Affeldt went in an inning and a 3rd.
Yeah, pitched very well though. 55th appearance for him. He's missed time this year. 259 earned run average. 33 strikeouts. More of a power pitcher at a younger age. Well, I mean, 95 to 97 when he was with the Royals. Big curveball before he came over here to the Rockies. That kind of initiated the fact of going to the bullpen. He has taken off.
The pitcher on the plus side now is George Contos. Went an inning and 2/3 of scoreless relief. And Matt Belisle has the hook right now for the Rockies. Rafael Ynoa from the right side. He had a sharp single yesterday, batting right-handed. Time for our Steel T Heating and Air Cool Stat. Never a trip charge for a repair. A $69 value. Steel T, the T stands for trust. Go to steelt.com. And Ynoa became the fourth switch hitter since '74 to have a hit left-handed and right-handed in his first 2 big league at-bats. Brandon Boggs, Brett Hemphill, and Geronimo Pena, the other 3. I can't tell you I remember a lot about those 3 guys.
Don't remember any of those guys?
Not a lot.
How come?
I don't know.
Be honest with you, I don't either.
Hits yesterday for Ynoa in his big league debut. 0 for 3 tonight. 2-2. And line foul. Morneau's behind him, then Drew Stubbs. That's pulled foul.
Yeah, you got to give up a little bit to get a lot. Oh, nice. Gave it right back.
Anybody get the baseball?
The card. They're really nice here at Coors Field. They give a lot of those right back to people.
This
in
could
the right
drop.
field.
It will. So another hit for Ynoa. And he's aboard leading off the 7th against Affel. With Justin Morneau coming up. Can't imagine with the volume of pitches yesterday that Bochy would go beyond Dickerson with Affel here in the 7th.
Yeah, their bullpen is quiet right now. Nobody's throwing. Tommy Canely is throwing in the Rockies bullpen. Risa activated today off the 15-day disabled list.
That's a strike. That's high.
Morneau 2 for 10 in his career against Jeremy Affel. A lot of that at those younger stages of each one of their careers. Morneau, Minnesota. Affel, Kansas City. Such a good curveball. We talked a little bit about this yesterday when he pitched. It has such a big move to it as it approaches home plate that hitters have a tendency to freeze their hands because of the tight rotation. Thinking it's a fastball in, it ends up being a curveball right on the middle of the plate.
And this gets by. You know he'll move up.
Bad reception by Sousa. I think he would probably agree to that unless he got crossed up, which he may have. He immediately has gone to the mound. I don't know if he was looking for a curveball or what he was looking for, but you can tell kind of a self-defense backhand and not able to pick it as the ball slid away from him.
2-2 on Morneau. Rockies down 3 runs. .35-year-old Jeremy Affeldt on the hill. Outside. You want to go back, and Rockies fans may recall when Colorado did the deal with Kansas City for Jeremy Affeldt. Do you remember who went to Kansas City? A really bright hitting prospect who, unfortunately, good guy, never panned out of the University of Florida, Ryan Shealy.
No, he didn't. Well, you know what happened? He got moved to the outfield, and he had actually experimented a little bit with the Rockies in the outfield, and then hit full-time with Omaha, and hurt the elbow, had to have surgery, then the knees went. You know, they just never gave him that chance. It's going to be popped up in the infield. Looks like Crawford's calling off everyone. He'll make the play. But don't forget about Bark at the Park. Drew won't bring his, he will bring the Golden though. On September the 18th for Bark at the Park, presented by Avo Durham and Nyla Bone. The event includes a pregame parade on the field, so you can take your dog on a leash, carry him around the field with you, and plus a bunch more goodies. Special tickets for your dog on that night. So Bark in the Park will make sure you make the phone call to Rockies.com/bark on the computer. And,
what if your dog forgets to make the call?
If your dog forgets to make the call, it's speed dial now. Rockies. Just punch the button, it goes right there. You need to educate your dog a little bit. Let him in the house every now and then so he can see the phone.
They have the run of the house. You kidding me? Drew Stubbs had a nice ball game. Drew's been on 3 times, single and a double, on the fielder's choice. He's stolen a base. He has scored 3 runs. Ball and a strike on Drew. Affeldt spent a year and a half in a Rockies uniform, made 75 appearances back in '07 for the Rockies as they went to the World Series. Pitched in 4 ball games. Pitched in all 4 ball games, in fact, to the '07 World Series. Did not give up a run, gave up just 2 hits.
Both these clubs have swung the bat well with runners in scoring position. San Francisco 6 for 12 tonight. The Rockies 5 for 13.
In fact, Affeldt pitched in 7 postseason games for the Rockies that year. Didn't give up a run. Well, tried to cross over and didn't get a good enough jump. He thought it was hit slow enough. Crawford flips over to Sandoval, 6-5 for the second out.
Yeah, one more look at this. You're exactly right. Ball's top spin, though, going to gain a little velocity. You got to remember on this infield, the ball's going to get through pretty quickly. A lot of teams have commented about this, and that's what I was thinking, that maybe he could be able, the ball would be slowed down a little bit more than what it was, out by 3 feet.
Let me correct one thing. I was looking at a different number. Jeremy pitched very well in the postseason. He did give up 1 run in the division series against Philadelphia.
It sounded better the other way.
I know. But he pitched in 7 ball games, only 1 of which he was scored upon. 1-0 on Dickerson.
The whole story you did with the first version, I like better.
So does Jeremy. Take a look at our Subway in-game box. It hasn't been about the offense. The Rockies have 7 runs on 10 hits. Unfortunately, they've given up 10 runs now, and all 10 runs have scored in the last 3 innings for the Giants. Jordan Lyles threw up bagels the first 4 innings. .3-0 on Dickerson with Rutledge on deck. Halfeld is going to get a visit from Dave Righetti.
More or less buying a little bit of time. Gutierrez is up throwing down in their bullpen. So you're going to get some time for this right-hander. Talk a little bit in a 3-0 count. Say, you know what? Hey, veteran, listen here. This guy's got a lot of pop. He's playing every day, left, right, doesn't matter. You hit the ball out of the ballpark. Don't make a mistake here on a 3-0 count. Who is that? That's Machi. I thought it was Gutierrez. It looks like it's Machi, and then Romo's starting to get loose next to him. Last night, Romo pitched the 8th, or the 9th. What? Gave it up last night.
Well, he pitched in a suspended game. He pitched in the night game.
They changed his name to Everyday Eddie. Everyday Eddie Gallardo that pitched for the Twins.
You know, it's
and
interesting,
Rangers.
George, in September, we have this annual discussion in September, you know, should Major League Baseball play by a different set of rules in the most important month of the year versus what they do the first 5 months, because it's all about your 25-man roster and your, you know, the guys you have on a bench, and then all of a sudden you can expand, you can pinch run with some speedster you bring up from Double A, that kind of thing.
I get all the fans' point of view, but from a player's perspective, I would have never played in the big leagues if I wouldn't have got that September showcase a few times. I needed that showcase to show them what I could do.
Sure. But it's interesting from a pitching standpoint. Bruce Bochy, I mean, there's nobody he loves down there more than his own son. He just brought up as Dickerson walks, and now the tying run can come up here in Rutledge. He's not relying in September in close ball games on call-ups from Fresno.
No, he's going to go with his regular bullpen, and he stated that to me today. He said, don't plan on seeing a lot of those guys. I snuck one in there last night, Strickland, but he said, you do 100 too. He said, don't be counting on seeing a lot of those younger guys unless we get into that spot.
And what you can do, though, on the position player side, George, is it's like Cincinnati last year. They brought up Billy Hamilton late, and he pinch ran a whole bunch.
Right.
Because he brought that skill set. But on the pitching side, as Boch goes out to make a pitching change, the guys he's getting are the guys who got him here.
Well, here's the thing about it, too. And I'm not a general manager, but I would load up my bullpen. Because if I got in a game, like what Bochy did earlier, he's in a game, he's getting beat 7-0. Now it's 7-2. He ran out, kicked him, didn't to get it going. Well, Bochy just made a switch. He's gone to the bullpen to get very quickly warming up Sergio Romo.
On 2 outs, and Josh Rutledge, who's really hot all of a sudden at the plate against Sergio Romo. Windshield damage, call Safelight 303-287-5000, or you can find them online at safelight.com. Rutledge had a booming 2-run triple to right center in the third. His last at bat, he hit a bullet that Sandoval laid out to catch. Yesterday, he was on base 5 times, had 3 hits. Josh has pop in his bat.
That's why Romo's here. The book on Josh, first pitch breaking ball. Try to get him to swing. He takes it, a flat slider at 81, but down in the zone. Sergio Romo, I mean, you see the numbers. Earned run average inflated yesterday to 401, 51 innings though. But he does strike out people, and he doesn't walk people. 53 strikeouts. He's been a very durable guy for Bruce Bochy over a number of years. A World Series hero 2 out of the last 4 years.
And it's popped up. Crawford going out. And he makes the catch to end the inning and the threat. So we'll go to the 8th inning. The Giants 10 and the Rockies 7. Inning, top half of Angel Pagan, Joe Panic, Buster Posey, and Tommy Kahnle will be on the hill for the Rockies, just coming off the disabled list earlier today. Here's our AT&T fan photo of the game. I know this guy. It's my man Jeff Hewson, our very own Jeff Hewson, and congrats to Huey, because today is the anniversary of his major league debut 26 years ago. And he only looks like he's 26. How'd that happen? Huey, smile. Don't play it off. We're talking about you. George, you know, today I stepped away for a moment. George, 26 years ago, Huey made his major league debut today.
No kidding. Congratulations, Huey. That's awesome. What was it, 400 years ago when I made it?
Something like that. He was called up from Double-A Jacksonville.
That's awesome.
And the Cowboy was there to cover it in his 33rd year covering Major League Baseball.
Well, you know, the neat thing about it, Jeff and I were walking downstairs the other day, and we ran into a couple that are seeing all 30 Major League teams are from Montreal, and they had on their old Montreal uniforms. We visited with them for about 30 minutes downstairs in the tunnel and brought some memories back for him. Tommy Kahnle is going to come into the ball game now. He's coming off activated off the 15-day disabled list. Numbers on the year, pretty respectable for a young rookie right-hander. 58 strikeouts in 63 innings.
So Pagan will lead it off, and he takes outside ball 1. Well, the velocity didn't stay on the disabled list.
Nope, came right back with it. 95 miles an hour. And what he took with him when he went on, it's come right back. He's been 95, 97.
DJ throws out Pagan, 1 out in the 8th. Here comes Joe Panik. The Ford Strike Zone is powered by Ford Cars. Big MPG, smart technology, and unsurpassed quality. See what happens when fun meets the road. Ford, go further.
Inside with the heater, which you saw in the Ford Strike Zone at 97 miles an hour.
That's a changeup at 89, folks.
Well, the thing about it is everybody gets enamored with his 97-mile-an-hour fastball, but he's got a very good changeup slider mix, too.
Panik an opposite field double in that 6-run 7th inning. And that's another changeup, and he hit it off the end of the bat. Gives up a base hit.
And it's 98-mile-an-hour fastball. The Panik hits out into left center field. And I think, you know, if you can, it's very difficult with that kind of velocity. I mean, Kevin Brown's the last to really have a bunch of movement on the pitch. But I mean, that's a good pitch. You put it right on the inner half of the plate and down. This little young left-hander just rifled it out into left field. Left center field, I should say.
And this is going to go to the backstop. Wild pitch and another runner in scoring position. Rockies continue to be among the league leaders in a stat you'd rather not be, and that's wild pitches.
That's exactly where this pitch hit. Tells you right out front, in front of home plate. As a catcher, you know, on a fastball, it's the hardest pitch to try to block because it's coming so hard. When it's that short, you know, you try to get out and pick it, and the reaction time is very short compared to a slider or curveball, which less velocity. You can determine the break and movement on it.
Is pulled fair down the line. Panik scores. Buster Posey with his second double of the game. His last 3 innings read like the following: home run, 2-run double, RBI double. 4 ribbies in the last 3 frames for Buster Posey.
And is trying to throw this slider to the outer half of the plate and down. I mean, just Buster is just a great hitter. I mean, this is a one-handed back leg drop to the ground type swing out front, and it just stays fair by about 1.5 feet and then curls into the corner.
Remember those numbers I gave you earlier, George, that the Giants over their last 17 games were hitting well over 300. 321, in fact, double-digit hits in 13 out of 17. Well, obviously now it's 14 out of 18. They have 15 hits tonight, and that 321 average is going north. They have 8 extra base hits, 6 in the last 2 innings. They're up 11-7. Sandoval with a 1-0 count. This is a pop fly in a difficult spot down that line, and fortunately it bounced foul because everybody stopped thinking someone else was going to make the catch.
Yeah, and
kind
again,
of how it's gone.
Yeah, exactly. And again, Corey Dickerson thought that Rutledge was coming. He knew it was coming. So he started to pull up, and then the ball drops about 2 feet, 3 feet out in front of him. So he's running as hard as he can to get there. Then the short, choppy steps, and the ball falls in between all three of them.
One out. Posey is at second base. He's matched his season high with 4 ribbies. The Giants tonight 7 for 13 with runners in scoring position. They're hit about 450 in those situations the last 7 games. Just checking in Los Angeles. Well, the Dodgers can't lose tonight because Kershaw's on the mound. They're up 2-0 in the 6th.
Pretty much the way it works, isn't it?
What's your thought on that one, George? I can't remember.
Kershaw?
Well, no, not on Kershaw. We've had so many discussions on and off the air over many, many years together. But should a pitcher be able to win the MVP?
Yes. If he's the MVP for his team and the best player in the league, yes.
Sandoval, strikeout victim. That's the second out. And now Cantley will try to get Hunter Pence. That has not been an easy task for anyone.
The Dodgers, I don't think, would have a 2-game lead. I don't think they'd be where they are. I don't think they would have done what they've done in the past years without Clayton Kershaw. He's their MVP on a consistent day-in, day-out basis. I just think, you know,
but
just like Dennis Eckersley won.
Yeah.
You know, the A's wouldn't have won a World Series without him. There's no chance.
I mean, he missed a few starts in there. What was it? The upper back issue, the lat issue.
Start of the year.
Right? Yeah, he started. Well, he started in Australia, and then he flew home, and he had an issue.
And they gave him a tissue, and he was okay in about 20 days.
He still has a chance to win 20.
Oh, he absolutely does. Probably got 5 starts left. Because we're in a battle like this.
Pass slides at the center. It's at Stubbs, who drops the baseball. Wow.
You don't see that.
Oh, my goodness.
He's 7th of the year. 7th error, not 7th drop ball. Nobody any more frustrated right now than athletes at this level that aren't able to perform, but when they do, and they have things like this happen, that ball just hit off of the thumb. I don't know if it's knuckling. Yeah, it could have been.
I think it was knuckling.
Because he thought he had it pretty cleanly caught in his glove. And it just hit right on the thumb, fell out of it.
Gregor Blanco. (12-7) now, San Francisco. 11 unanswered runs. No time for tonight's T-Mobile game changer. There were a lot of choices in that 6-run 7th inning. Gregor Blanco's double was huge, though. And Hunter Pence scores. That's the go-ahead run. So that play was a game changer. Brought to you by T-Mobile. 1-0 on Blanco.
I have to giggle because I just got a text from a friend of mine in Oklahoma. He said, "You're killing my favorite player in fantasy baseball, Stanton, for MVP. The P stands for player, not pitcher."
Yeah, it's an annual debate.
Sure it is.
With pitcher and hitter, pitcher and position player, I should say. And then also, well, can you be an MVP on a team that doesn't make the playoffs or maybe finishes below 500. There's a possibility Miami's below 500 right now, and Stanton's numbers are extraordinary. And
they are extraordinary.
And he plays every day, and I think if somebody said tomorrow he's the MVP, I'd have no issue with it, even though the Marlins, though they're still in it, they're below 500.
But the question you asked me, can a pitcher win or should a pitcher win the MVP? And in my opinion, it was yes, and there has been many. Gibson has won one. Vida Blue has won one. He was the last switch hitter to win MVP. Nice trivia question, huh, Dougie? Well, check it and see on that, Doug. That used to be a great trivia question.
No, Terry Pendleton won an MVP. No, he won a batting title.
Right.
He won a batting title, that's right. Yeah, for years it was Vida Blue. Last switch hitter. One of the great trick questions.
No, Dennis Eckersley, obviously won an MVP.
Did Halladay win an MVP?
Matt?
Roy
Halladay? I don't think so.
Runner going. Throw is going to hit Hunter Pence. He's safe. That's Pence's 12th stolen base. And if you think that some etiquette rule has been broken at Coors Field, even in the 8th inning, 5-run lead, that doesn't apply like maybe it would in some other places.
No, it does not. This ball caught Pence right on the thigh as it had a tail to it. Big jump off of the delivery of Canely, and then a throw off line by Williams. Oh, you know what? Chipper Jones, Caminetti. There's a couple of guys. Caminetti 96 and then Chipper 99. And the one prior to Vida Blue was probably Mickey Mantle. Am I right? Just guessing. I don't know the answer.
2-2 on Blanco. 1-3-6-2. It's not some extraordinary put out in this game. It's the run scored the last 4 innings by San Francisco. And Canely strikes out Blanco to end the inning. 2 more runs for the Giants. There was an error in the inning. 12. Unanswered runs allowed by the Rockies. They led this ball game 7-1. It seems like a month ago, though. And we go to the bottom of the 8th inning. LeMahieu will lead it off. Gene Machie on for the 62nd time.
Yeah, making that appearance out of their bullpen has found a niche. 198 earned run average. 59 innings thrown. And just 38 hits given up. 39 hits given up with 44 strikeouts and just 15 walks. He keeps the ball inside the park.
Joaquin Arias has come in for Sandoval at third base. LeMahieu, a single, a 2-run home run, and a ground ball to third. Rockies have 10 hits. The Giants have 15.
Rob Scahill will join the ball club today from AAA Colorado Springs, is warming up in the Rockies bullpen.
Chiga's changeup, it's outside, 1-1. DJ with his 5th home run earlier, 4 home runs his first couple of years in the big leagues. We talked about that earlier. And a better view of Scahill getting loose. Top to Arias, naturally. In the ball game, what do we always say? Ball will find you.
Yeah, they'll find you one way or the other.
Jackson Williams approaching the plate. Who wants tacos? Fans follow @RootSports_RM on Twitter to receive alerts for the Rockies taco special. When the Rockies score 7 or more, if you had it, you'd be getting a tweet. You would have had one earlier. And the Rockies hit that magic number. Now they'd like to double it up. On the way to another 7th spot, take a lead in this game. Settled for 6, obviously.
Kyle Parker has stepped out into the on-deck circle.
Here's the former #1 pick out of Clemson, 2-sport star. Heck of an ACC quarterback at Clemson, who had designs at one point on an NFL career.
Well, he and Russell Wilson were right there, 1-2 coming out to, that same year. And the Russell, bad word in Denver, but Russell Wilson, a very good NFL quarterback, obviously.
Well, Russell Wilson and Kyle Parker remain very close friends. They roomed together in Nashville. This ball is caught, 1 out. Excuse me, 2 outs. And that'll bring up Parker. Talking to Kyle about that either during spring training or in his call up earlier in the year. He keeps in contact with Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson actually went a Rule 5 pick this year to the Texas Rangers. So he went to camp with the Rangers, showed up.
Parker had a nice year in AAA, 289, 15 home runs, drove in 72, also had 30 doubles. Broke his bat, popped up short left field. Crawford caught a bunch of pop-ups tonight. 1, 2, 3, 8 inning for Gene McShee. We'll go to the 9th. It is 12-7 Giants. Rockies baseball on Root Sports is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. By Dodge, visit dodge.com or your local Dodge dealer today. And by the Colorado Department of Wildlife, money generated from hunters and anglers creates jobs and protects wildlife, so give one a hug. Learn more at hugahunter.com. It's been a tale of 2 ball games for the Rockies tonight. They had a 7-1 lead in the middle innings. That is gone. It's 12-7 San Francisco. Top of the 9th inning. Mark Stout's at the center field. Manning the desk. Hey, Mark.
Yeah, that 7-1 lead gone because of a giant 7th for San Francisco when they scored 7 runs on 6 hits and pretty much took things over. Special delivery. Jordan Lyles started the game tonight, changed his delivery. We will talk about that coming up. And there's one more thing. This is my David John. Everybody else says, this is my DJ. Well, that's DJ's name, David John. Nice game for DJ. We're going to look at him defensively and offensively coming up on the Toyota postgame show. Back to Drew and George, guys.
All right, thanks, Mark.
Yep, Mark, thank you. Rob Scahill will pitch the 9th inning. Rob returning to the big leagues today as well.
Around 33 games there. He was 2-0, 447 earned run average. You say, what kind of a high earned run average working out of the bullpen? It's not if you pitch in Colorado Springs. It's like having a 2.70 ERA. Rob came up, if you remember. He was the 26th man added to the roster, got the win. They got sent down the very next day. Rob got a win in Chicago in front of his dad. That was great. In front of a lot of family, friends at Wrigley Field.
Andrew Susac has had quite a ball game. 2 for 4, 2-run home run, and RBI double. We mentioned that G. Hill, Glenn Allen, skipper of the Colorado Springs Sky Sox, is up. Dave Hadjick's here as well. Excuse me, Dave Schuler's here.
Dave Schuler, the pitching coach. First trip for Dave Schuler since last retired out of the big leagues, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Of course, Glenn Allen was part of the big league staff as a first base coach for several years, now managing down in Colorado Springs. Guys love playing for G. Hill in the Springs. We get to talk to a lot of guys that end up here. Guys like Ben Paulson sitting next to his manager.
There's Dave. There's Schuler right here. Here's the pitching coach at AAA. He was there.
This ball's well hit right center field. This one is caught by Blackman up against the wall. Nice catch by Charlie.
Continued excellence from Charlie Blackman, not only with the bat but with the glove, as he carried that all the way to the wall. I think it didn't look like that ball was going to get there. Charlie got there, put his back against the wall, little leap, made the catch. Nice catch, Charlie. Right up against the fence. Crawford will come up. Then Ishikawa, who's been on the on-deck circle a couple of times tonight, maybe get to finally hit.
Crawford a triple to drive in a run in the 7th inning. He's 1 for 4. 10 came to the plate in that 6-run 7th inning for the Giants. They had 5 extra base hits. Panic had a double. Posey had a 2-run double. Pence an RBI single. Blanco a double to drive in a run. Susac a double to drive in a run. Crawford, who's at the plate, had a triple that drove in a run. It's called a really good inning of offense and a really bad inning out on the hill. Dodgers now in the 7th inning, leading 4-0.
Pretty good heat right there. Pretty good location with it. 91 by Scahill. We get the strikeout of Crawford.
So Rob has got the first 2 hitters, and Travis Ishikawa will come to the plate. Travis has some friends here, huh?
A few. And they said he's bounced around with a couple of teams this year. Ended up back here at home with the Giants.
And he's got a base hit.
Just like he did last night. Last night it was a blue hit to left field. This was a hard hit ball up the middle.
By the way, Washington, George, through 7 innings has 1 hit.
Yeah, Kershaw's doing a pretty good job with it, to say the least. A very good command of his curveball again. Well, Pagan will take a shot at Scahill here with 2 outs in the top of the 9th inning. Clean this inning up with an out.
Actually, I think with Kershaw, the great Tim McCarver line applies that he said about his good friend and teammate Bob Gibson. That's like Kershaw.
Yeah, same thing, right?
Good inning for Scahill. Rockies down 12-7, go to the bottom of the 9th. Shot at the moon, isn't it? 12-7, the Rockies trailing the Giants. Perfect night for baseball. Hey, a reminder, it's college football season. You didn't need a reminder from us on that. And it's also college football season on Root Sports. Tune in to the Rams Report with Jim McElwain every Thursday for your full coverage of Colorado State football. It's your full access pass to CSU football, only on Root Sports. Couple changes for the Giants here in the bottom of the 9th inning. Javi Lopez, the former Rocky, will handle the 9th, or at least part of it. And Travis Ishikawa is in for Buster Posey at first base. So Ishikawa, pinch hit, had a single, stays in. Charlie Blackmon will lead it off. Charlie's 1 for 4, doubled and scored back in the first inning. Rockies had a 2-0 jump on the Giants. Led 6-0 after 4 innings of play, 7-1 after 5. But then things changed.
Big time changed in a hurry.
Lopez, one of those guys, George, that he throws from that way down under, but still has, that was a slider, he still has pretty good velocity. And because of that arm angle and the need in baseball for the situational lefty, there's no telling how long he'll pitch, and he takes great care of himself.
Well, he does take great care of himself, and he was over the top at one time. Now it's all low 3/4. Behind Charlie Blackmon, 2-1. He has some velocity from there too. Over the top he was 92, 93. They made the change to low 3/4, and as they say, that's the rest of the story. It is the rest of the story.
37-year-old Javi Lopez out of the University of Virginia. He was born in San Juan. And as we've told you on many occasions, makes his home still in Golden. He was with the Rockies in 03, 04, and part of 05. He was waived after 3 ball games in 05. He'd given up 5 runs on 7 hits in 2 innings, and Arizona picked him up. Jumped around the minors for a while, and then landed in Boston.
He's carved out a very nice career.
It's fouled off. In his career,
wasn't his wife getting her doctorate at George Washington?
Yeah, his wife has a doctorate. I know that. Renee. Javi went to high school in Fairfax, Virginia. Part of his ties to the East Coast. And he got his degree in psychology from UVA. And I remember had long conversations with Javi. He was a sharp guy. 2-2, and that's fouled off. He signed a 3-year deal last off season, so he is signed through 2016 with the Giants. 1 out.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, Jeremy Affeldt along those same lines. They want to keep these 2 veteran guys together. Jeremy's had a slice in his hand. He's had a broken hand, but other than that, been very healthy and very productive guy, just like Javi has been.
And Inoue looks at the slider away.
Because of that angle, I'm not sure he'd get that slider called a strike. Trying to sweep it to the outside corner. I could see trying to drop it down and in under Inoue, but
yeah, it's unusual that, you know, a player, George, will end up getting a multi-year deal before his 37th birthday, and that's what happened with Lopez when he signed that 3-year, $13 million contract.
You know, the guy doesn't quite give you a problem. Shows up every day, very valuable to your bullpen, valuable in the locker room. Go find another guy like that.
They're hard to find, especially as consistent as he's been. And it took a long time before he didn't have to look over his shoulder and wonder if the manager was going to call him into his office and he'd get sent out. 2-2 on Inoue, and that's foul. That's up and in, 3-2. Well, the Nationals have scored against Kershaw. Bryce Harper, left on left, hit a home run, so it's 4-1. Padres, who were coming over the weekend in the 8th inning, are tied with the Diamondbacks 1-1. This is popped up foul ground, and Ishikawa is going to make the play, 2 outs. Harper's the first left-handed batter to homer off Kershaw this year. Well, Atlanta broke out tonight, George. We'll tell you about that in a second. Here's the standings in the in all the divisions, or at least the playoff picture. The Nationals up 7.5 games on the Braves. Cardinals are now 2 up on Milwaukee. Brewers really struggling. They're in jeopardy of not making the postseason after leading most of the way in the Central. Still a lot of baseball left. Dodgers lead these Giants by 2 games. And this is up the middle, cut off, and Crawford throws and ends the ball game. Well, that's a tough pill to swallow when you have a 7-1 lead. But the Rockies fall 12-7 as the Giants scored 11 runs in a 4-inning swing. George Contos gets the victory. He's 4-0. Matt Belisle takes the loss. Matt is now 4-7. The Giants improved to 76-63, keeping the heat on the Dodgers. The Rockies fall to 55-84. All right, Jimmy John's freaky fast delivery of the game, Buster Posey. He has been swinging the bat like Hunter Pence unbelievably well, and especially against the Rockies. He had a home run and a pair of doubles tonight, driving in a season-high matching 4. Buster Posey, the former league MVP, our Jimmy John's freaky fast delivery of the game. Again, the final score, the Giants have defeated the Rockies tonight 12-7. When we come back, we'll get you center field and the Toyota postgame show.